So Jeff, when do you want to get started?
What's up, Mike?
Good, good. Hey, Mike, you're on mute, Jeff. Well, that was him. You're on mute. I guess he is. Well, anyway, while Jeff's on mute, welcome to everybody. And I see we're populating the screen. We're up to 26 participants right now. And what a week it's been, hasn't it? So much has been going on, and we're hearing a whole lot of people coming out. I just came off a call with the police, every police chief and the sheriff and many of the black pastors. Is on July 9th, there's going to be a big town hall with them and the black community leaders that have been engaged with a lot of the marches and protests up to this point. So that was an interesting conversation. And I told them all about what is happening right here. But before we get started, I just want to take a moment to just really acknowledge that if you've listened to any of the webcasts, the webinars that people are talking about racism, institutionalized racism, what all that looks like. And my biggest observation is it just appears that there's a whole lot of white and black people that suddenly got woke. You know, they figured out something's going on and they want to do something about it, which is good. But when I look at Jeff Harper Harris and the initiative he's taken to launch these basketball conversations, and then again, who's been involved with the Increase the Peace, Stop the Violence Blacktop Classics that he's been holding for probably 10, 12 years now. And I think that really goes to show that, you know, when people are in the game, they understand this. And when you read what Jeff is writing and what many of you also are coming back with as well and commenting on, this is the real stuff. And I think this is what's going to affect the change as the climate is now improving and all of you as leaders on your high school campus and in the community and molding many young people right now. How do you keep this conversation going? So I was really excited about what happened last week. I want to make sure that this week we got 26 on right now, and I'm sure there'll be more to come. We got some new faces here today, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to let Jeff kick it off real quick, tee it up, and then we'll start the conversations. And if we have some athletes here, I know Jeff asked that we invite some players to come on, and we may have some here tonight. We would certainly like to hear from them and get a feel for what they're thinking and what they're hearing and where they'd like to go with all of this as well. So Jeff, take it away.
All right. First of all, thanks, Mike. Appreciate that. Appreciate everybody, you know what I'm saying, coming in on today. And, you know what I'm saying, I know everybody got families and different things. First of all, I want to thank Mike Hop. Hop hit me probably like a day after, probably 2 days after our first one. And he, you know what I'm saying, he had an email, he had some ideals, you know what I'm saying? And you know, I was like very excited that, you know what I'm saying, that, you know, he took, you know, he breaking it down and like, maybe this is just, let's try this scenario about, you know what I'm saying? And I'll let Hop explain it to you, explain it to everybody that's here. But I mean, that's the whole concept is, you know, as we have these, like we come up with solutions. And you know what I'm saying? I don't think, you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that we're going to be the ones that you know, everybody follows. People going to have their own opinions of what's going on. I think you know what I'm saying, I think we definitely talked about that the first one. The second one is just the same concept. You know, hope some student athletes jump in to express how they feel. But, you know, one thing that me and Coach Jones, Lonnie, talked about is I definitely want everybody to try to get engaged in this one. You know, and you know, I know it was kind of uncomfortable. I know Mike talked last time. I know Ryan Meyer talked. I know we, you know what I'm saying, we made some, you know, we talked among ourselves. But I definitely want everybody to try to get engaged. And, you know what I'm saying, because, again, it's been about a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks. And from that 2 weeks, there's been other things that's happened, you know, from when George Floyd was murdered until he was buried. You know what I'm saying? Last week, there was a young Latino killed downtown, you know, shot. And even though, you know what I'm saying, the situation was, you know, it was shown that it was justified, it still brought a lot of attention, because there's been situations when, like, somebody brought up, you know what I'm saying, why was the gentleman in the Mission Bay Park, I don't know if y'all remember 5 years ago, I think it was 4 years ago, when that gentleman in Mission Bay Park pulled a gun on the police and kids, and they nicely shot him in his stomach and nicely took him to the hospital. And said he was 5150. So, again, my main concern with us is us being on the same page and us, expressing our feelings. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I told you guys before, I'm not political. I'm not a politician. I don't rock with politicians. I don't care if it's, red. When people talk about red and blue to me, I think they're talking about Bloods and Crips. I don't really get down with, Republicans and the Democrats and, because we're the ones that's doing the hard work. We're on the front lines every day. We're dealing with our kids every day. We're dealing with our community every day. So with that said, I want Mike Hop to go ahead and speak. Mike, just talk about what you sent me because, that was part of this whole thing. Let's us find solutions.
All right, thanks, Jeff. Before I jump to that, I just wanted to introduce Isaiah Brickner is with us on the call today, and Isaiah is a rising senior for us at Saints. So if you see Isaiah there, he's with us at Saints and was good enough to join us today. There he is. Say hello. There you go. There's a couple things. The first thing that I, when we got off the phone, off this Zoom last time, it just, I'm trying to figure out how to make an impact. And the first place, that I thought about it was in my home, my own home with my family. And then I moved to my work, my school, my team. And, I'm able to have an impact at Saints because I'm part of the administrative staff at Saints. And so, I talked to our president about, how come we don't have black people on our board? We don't have a black person on our board. And I had a long talk with him about that and the possibility of that happening at our school. One of the issues that we have at our school is we had a hair code. We have a dress code and a hair code. And we had some issues on our campus last year where the hair code seemed to be biased against black kids. And so I'm sitting down with the administrator who writes the dress code, and we're having conversations as an administration, but also bringing in kids and parents and coaches to discuss how to have a more fair hair code, dress code for our kids. So that's happening. And then the other thing that struck me was, if we have positions open at Saints, how do we get that information out to, black coaches, black teachers, educators to know that these positions are available, and to get people in for interviews. So initially I brought that to Jeff and I'm looking for a way to do that. Now the other thing could be not that we collect, resumes or it's a collection site, but maybe it's me just knowing that I could go to a source that says, this is available at Saints, and then somebody could check our sources. I don't know how to do it quite, but that was the thought. So that's where I am with that.
Okay, Mike, we appreciate those comments. So are these observations you've had at Saints that are not currently happening, or you've seen them and you've asked folks about them up to this point, or did the revelation just come after last week's call in? And
no,
before you answer, hold on, before you answer that, if
okay.
you'd like to get in with your comments right now, go to the chat, get your name in there. First in line right now is Lisa Saward. So after we get through with this conversation here on this topic, Lisa will be next up. But if you've got something to add, let's go to the chat room, add your name so we get everybody in there. So Mike, take it away.
Well, I think what's interesting is I think we have good people at our school. I think we have good leadership. I think we have good families and good kids and good teachers. But like you started this with, Mike, I think now we have people's attention more than we ever have. So we've had these conversations, and it's not just me having these conversations at our school. There's been there's others having these conversations, especially our families. And I think now we have people's attention. And so I think that's where we are with it, Mike. I think we have good people trying to do right, but I don't know that people completely understood the depth of the issues and how long these issues have been, prevalent. And so I think now we finally have the attention like you started with. And I think, I don't want to miss that opportunity, especially at our school.
Okay, before we go to Lisa, let's keep on this topic. Anyone else want to add to what Mike's observations have been? Is that going on at your school, or open it up? Let's talk about it. Nobody?
Well, Mike, I can say I interviewed at the Saint for the Saint this past summer before I came to Lincoln. So I know it was very different than any other interview that I've been in. You know, I know I was overqualified for the job. Know I could do the work at a high level. But one thing that kind of was uncomfortable for me was that when I came into this closed door private, and you know, I kind of asked the guys, "Hey, what are you really looking for?" Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, we can. Okay.
Okay, I kind of asked, you know, hey, what are you guys clearly looking for me to come aboard? You know, are you looking for me to maybe work with this population of kids? Are you looking for really me come in, make an impact as a coach? Or what are you know, what is the reason that my name came across your desk? Is it because of the information that I hold? Is it because of the job that I can do? Or do you really just want a quality coach and someone shared my information? One of the coaches there who did an amazing job was, I'm not going to say his name, but one of the football coaches did an amazing job of getting me into that interview. But when I got to the interview, I kind of felt like the coaches wanted to know more of my information more than they desired me to come be a part of their staff. And it made me very uncomfortable. I've never been in an interview like that before. It felt like they wanted to steal my notes, steal my information, more than they wanted to give me a job. And it made me very uncomfortable. You know, I had the opportunity to coach on different platforms and things like that. But to say that, I wasn't really sure if they wanted to bring me as an African-American coach on their staff, or did they want the information that this African-American coach had? And even in the interview session, I said, hey, well, if I come aboard, is there a way I can get some kids that look like us an opportunity to get an education at your school, maybe be a scholarship or something like that? And that was something they said, oh, we have to talk to the administration and things like that. And it, you know, it kind of went dry for about 2 months. And I told them, you know, hey, thank you, but no thanks. I'm gonna go somewhere else with my experience and my opportunity, but I thank you. And so to say that is to then come to you know, Lincoln, and then we got kids to transfer in from the Saints. It was kind of heartbreaking for me because I want, you know, my godson went there and he dealt with some racial tension while he was there. And then to have kids leave, it just made me very uncomfortable. So I just want to know, what can we do to make sure the kids at schools like that, or kids that leave schools like that, how can we make sure that they are mentally encouraged when they leave the school or continue to stay at the school, because there needs some things to be in place.
So George, can you get with Mike at some point and maybe go a little bit deeper into that experience so he could take that feedback? Right now, Mike, in addition to being the head boys basketball, well, there's only boys there, the head basketball coach at Saints, you're also vice principal, or is that your role right now?
Correct.
Yes.
Yep. And basically my role is I'm in charge of athletics and admissions.
Yes, sir.
Got it. No, that's huge. That's huge. George, thanks for those comments. If there's none other, Lisa, we're going to go to you now. You're first up. Anyone else? Oh, my. Anyone else that would like to speak, go to the comment box and get your name in there if you can. Okay, Lisa, take it away.
Thanks, Michael. Hi, I'm Lisa. I work with Lonnie and Jeff and Coach Pierce. I've worked with Coach Meyer before. And when I saw that Coach Jeff posted this on his Twitter, I told him I wanted to be present. I wanted to be involved. You know, obviously, I'm a Chinese American, but I don't look that way. But I just want to be able to try and understand and help support you guys and your coaching and your kids. and understand what it is that you go through and be sensitive to that. I think it's important for me just to get to know you guys as people versus just coaches and people that I sell uniforms to. I think this is a great platform and a great forum. It's amazing to see all the people that you brought together. But I just wanted to thank you for doing this, and I will continue to share this if it's okay with some of the other coaches that I work with in San Diego County to try and get them involved, because I think it needs to be addressed by all the schools and not just the ones that are here that are present now. But I support you guys and hope to be a part of this going forward.
Appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. VPAT is up next, followed by Lonnie Jones, and then Jeff. Okay.
Hey, everybody. My name is Vanessa Lemon. I'm relatively new to San Diego, so being a part of this community and, just having the opportunity to be on these calls and see faces and connect the dots and things like that, that's been really great. So thank you, for letting me on board here. I'm coming from Arizona, coaching high school kids for 10 years, and I really think the biggest piece to this, yes, we're here to create solutions, but we also are here to figure out how to listen to our kids. And from the first Zoom call, I left feeling like a couple coaches didn't really understand that our young people know what's going on. And whether they have discussed it with you or shown signs that it's affecting them, they're experiencing things from this. And so I really hope that we are all staying open to that and just understanding we aren't going to have all the solutions. This has been going on for so long, and sure, we've attacked the fight here and there, and we've created these storms of anger and have wanted change for so long. But right now, our youth have the power, and our student athletes are important, and they're leaders on their campuses. So I just really hope that in our finding of solutions, we are taking into account what our students are feeling, not just what we see as adults and what we know as adults. So having the young man on from Saints, tonight, that's going to be great. I'm really looking forward to hearing him because I think ultimately that's why we're here, is to put the pieces back together and support and encourage these young people. And, a lot of us maybe change our ways, change how we think, change how we, interact with particular kids. So yeah, I'm excited to be a part of this. So that's it. Thank you.
So Vanessa, welcome from Arizona. And can you tell us a little bit about where you've landed and what things might be like if you're at a school or with a program right now? What is that looking like to you?
So actually right now I'm working on the San Diego Tropics Women's Semi-Pro. And I coach for the Guardians. I just got on with them, men's semi-pro. Been putting feelers out though, trying to land, a high school job for the season, whatever that could look like. I've been in contact with a few coaches actually from this Zoom call, whether it's words of encouragement or, hey, check out these resources. Maybe you can find something here. Or even like, oh, if I hear anything, I'll definitely shoot you an email. Just putting it out there. Yes, I'm looking for a high school job. That would be ideal.
That's good. Well, welcome. And yeah, that's good. It's good stuff to know. And let's be sure too, that at some point, if you all don't know each other, maybe put your contact information in the chat room as well. And then at the end of the call, those three little dots next to the file button at the bottom of the chat, you can actually copy that, so you'll have all that information that you could save. But once again, Vanessa, welcome. We appreciate you being here. Next up is Lonnie, followed by Jeff, and then we've got Coach Bird, and one of her athletes is going to speak too. So there's next in line. Lonnie, take it away.
I didn't have nothing to say, Mike. I was just saying that somebody sounded like they had two mics open and it was echoing. I wanted to listen more than anything.
Okay, good. Okay, Jeff, you ready? Jeff had a question. It looks like he went away for a minute.
No, I'm
Okay,
here.
Jeff.
Real quick, I just want to know how y'all. I've been feeling some type of way, well, for a lot, but I reached out to some people, you know what I'm saying, some trainers that train kids. And it's interesting that, it's back to me, it seemed like it's back to business. Like back to business. Let's just get back to the gym, train. And my thing was, I talked to one trainer, I was like, it's amazing that I could see Black players, Black athletes on your page, like training and working out, but I don't see any type of push for this movement. And I just want to ask, you know what I'm saying, have y'all felt that way? What do y'all think about that? You think, you know what I'm saying, do you think that I'm wrong for saying that? You know what I'm saying? It's amazing that. And then second thing is, I want to ask Isaiah, Mike's player, how does he feel? Because what Coach George was talking about, how does he feel as a player at Saints, and how does he feel what's going on right now? Also, being in his status, being a varsity player at St. Augustine, and what's going through his mind as most likely a captain, and what will he do to change the format?
Can I say something right now?
You've got it, Isaiah.
Yeah, definitely. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on the call. And then second of all, being a leader at Saints, there definitely is a lot on not really on my shoulders, but I can really help being a change at Saints and stuff like that. And I think there's a bunch of ways that I think we can help. And one thing that Coach Hop talked about, that we were talking about a couple weeks ago, was keeping the conversation going. And we talked about talking about Black Lives Matter, having a conversation like a couple of times every month, because one issue that I think we do have is that we forget about this topic until something bad happens. Like we don't really talk about it until like someone has to die or something big happens, And I think keeping the conversation going is going to be a great way to start and help make a change.
Those are great comments, great observations. And so as you go back, right, how are you staying connected with your teammates, Isaiah?
Well, we're working out. We have morning workouts Monday through Thursday. So we're able to get into the gym, and then we can talk there. We had a Zoom call a couple weeks ago about this topic too, and we got some good points in there. Talked a lot about this, and yeah.
When you're together with your teammates, do these social justice issues and what's going on around the country come up in conversation, or unless it's prompted by somebody else, or are you just getting together and playing basketball?
I mean, usually we're in there playing basketball,
yeah.
Like we're working out, so it's not. But sometimes, yeah, they'll come up. We'll talk about it a little bit. But the main thing is like when we're on the Zoom call, and it was like a big discussion that we were talking about with Coach Hop.
It's good that you're doing that, and I know that, and we hope to hear from all the other athletes that are on the call right now as well. So Jeff, great question, and we're going to continue on. Once again, I see that the chat room is populating with contact information, but right now I only have one speaker that would like to speak with comment. That's Coach Bird coming up right now with her athlete, Delana. Okay, so take it away.
Hey everybody, I'm Andrea, Coach Bird, and I also have my starting point guard, Delina Salam. I'm going to yield the majority of my time to her. We've been hosting our weekly Zoom calls to kind of just get a feel for how everybody's been feeling, and every week we kind of have different speakers that come on, and I call them mentors, that kind of come on and give them a little bit of insight, allow them to kind of vent to them, and things like that. And I think the biggest thing that, I've heard from a lot of my student athletes is, it's not necessarily my turn to talk, it's their turn to talk. It's our turn to listen. to what they have to say. And I think, like Coach Vanessa was saying, they know a lot more than what we think. They see everything going on social media and all that. So with that being said, Delina, the floor is all yours.
I'm Delina. I'm a senior at San Diego High. Like she said, a starting point guard. Thank you for having me. I just wanted to touch on a few things I've heard. This is my first time on the Zoom with the coaches, but I think that's great that Mike Hott said that Saints is implementing more inclusive hair codes, because that was something I was going to talk about that's present at my school. A lot of judgment comes with hair towards Black kids, especially do-rags for Black men. They're seen as a threat when they wear their do-rags. Actually, the end of my sophomore year, they banned do-rags, and if you know, that is a pretty racial thing to do, since Black kids are the ones who wear do-rags. It is just confirming that they see us as a threat. But something I want to touch on more specifically to basketball in San Diego that I've noticed as a player, a Black player, is the elitism a lot of white teams have towards predominantly Black teams or teams with a lot of diversity. And I've noticed it a lot, especially being a girl. It's a lot more catty than I assume boys are, but there's a lot of elitism that comes with us playing teams. I don't even want to name them because I don't want it to seem like it's shade or attacking them, but a white team calling a Black team ghetto, I just don't see how before Black Lives Matter or before, like Isaiah said, death happens, no one saw that as a problem. A specific event that happened was during league, we played Coronado. That's the one team I'll name. And my teammate, Kirsani Mitchell, tall Black girl, love her so much, didn't do anything. The white girl said that we were ghetto, and Kirsani said, "This isn't ghetto, I'll show you ghetto." That is not a threat, nothing at all. White girl came at her, attacking her, and Kirsani spoke up for herself. If it was the other way around, if a white girl was speaking up for herself, anyone who is non-Black, it would not have be seen as threatening, as bad. Kirsani got a tech for that, but the white girl went unpunished, and she was crying tears. As you guys know, this Karen phenomenon is going on, and it was essentially exactly like that. She's crying for help to the ref, saying that this girl is threatening her, and her sister continued to hit us and foul us, and we lost the game pretty badly, but we beat them the first time. So I just wanted to talk about how a lot of times in sports, the use of victimizing or elitism, feeling superior than, is constantly used. And like Miss Vanessa said, we are not oblivious to this at all. Oftentimes we are more aware than our coaches might be. I have a lovely coach, Coach Bird, who always includes everyone. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little choked up because it's a lot to unbear. But like Isaiah said, a lot of times we don't have the chance to talk about this because it's just basketball. We're playing basketball. I don't want to be the one to bring up the issue going on. I don't want to be seen. Last year, my team was our team was pretty diverse, but it felt that silence needed to be there. We shouldn't talk about social issues. But yeah, that is something I really wanted to say. And a lot of times I hear my Black friends who go to predominantly white institutions like OLP, Francis Parker, say that the coaches oftentimes say we're all diverse, all different sexual orientations, all different races, sports isn't a place for race. But to say that is to neglect the special things that we as Black people face, especially in high school. And it's more annoying to be judged and for someone to not know you, even by my own admin. I'm loud, I'm talking really nicely, I'm talking my Caucasian voice with you guys, but at school I'm a different person, and admin often judges us by that. And I think it's unacceptable for young Black men and women to have a different persona around certain people, and to not be able to speak in African American vernacular when they're with their friends, to be deemed as ghetto by people in white schools who are very privileged. So I think us as the San Diego community, oftentimes we say, we're very progressive, yada, yada, but we are ignoring the constant racism that we as students face. even in California, Southern California, during a basketball game, kids were chanting, "Where's your passport?" Very racist. I've seen kids at University City say the N-word, no punishment. I've seen kids at Claremont call Black girls monkeys, dirty, no punishment, even with emails and even with all these extra steps. So to say we need to do more, that's no longer acceptable. It's the people who are non-Black that have to do more and that have to listen to us, like Isaiah said, not only when people are dying. Because if you're gonna bring flowers only to the funeral, obviously that person's life didn't matter. So that's all I have to say. Oh, also one more thing. If there are any coaches with Black girls, like a team with, it's a girl team, I started this thing to include Black women because they're often forgotten in the media, and it's called Dream High Black Girls. There's an Instagram, or if you need my Instagram, I'll put it in the chat. But oftentimes Black women are forgotten. So if you want to provide a safe space for your player that you don't feel you have the resources or the knowledge to provide, just send them my way. But thank you for giving me this platform and the time to speak. I really appreciate it.
Everybody clap it up for Delina, please. Give her a thumbs up now. So let me just say this, and Delina, I've got 5 kids of my own, 3 daughters, and 2 of them played at the next level, and many of you know them on this call. But you're right, Vanessa, the kids do know, and they do talk, and they do see this, and they do hear it, and the time is come to just, we hear so many people admitting about these things going on, but then that's what I talked about earlier. They're suddenly woke, you know, and it's not just white folks, it's Black folks too. And there's very few people that would voice it like a Jeff Harper Harris, right? If you see something that's going crossways, you're gonna say something about it, get the tech if you have to, you know, challenge the authority if you have to, speak, you know, to authority in a way that makes sense. And so what you just said is good. I'm gonna ask you a couple questions if I can. All right, so first off, I just wanna let you know, not only are you identifying what needs to be done, but you're doing something about it. And you've created this group that's in support of other athletes and other causes. And tell us where that came from. What's your why? Where that Coco? Let me mute. Okay, I just muted Coco. Okay, tell us where that came from. What's your why in terms of doing that?
I went to a predominantly white school. I came from Albert Einstein. I don't know if any of you guys are aware. But, yeah, I spoke a very white language, German, learned about very white history about the Holocaust. You know, oftentimes a lot of people forget that Black people were facing a genocide too. So I just always felt like an outsider. I always felt like I had to read my own books. Like in school, for Black History Month, I would speak every day about a Black person no one knew about. And it was like, I'm always doing this work and Google is free. Like I was just very annoyed. And I knew my Black women felt the same. I know Black men felt the same as well, but I felt I had more, I could help more if it was towards Black women because I don't share the experience Black men face. So that's why I created it. And especially like this past season, just experiencing it firsthand, you know, I always knew racism was there. Like I knew my white friends, their parents like didn't like that I got better grades than them. You know, I knew it was an uncomfortable thing. So like after experiencing it first heads on, you know, listening to people call Lincoln ghetto, listening to people call San Diego High ghetto, I was just annoyed, you know, because we aren't ghetto. And even if we were, the government places us in neighborhoods with no opportunities, and that's why we are like that. But that's a different topic. But I was just getting annoyed with the lack of information my white peers had, and I felt that I have educated them enough, and it's their time to do the reading. It's their time to educate themselves, and I need to support my people because we are underrepresented. So that's how I felt, and I felt especially like I said, in high school, our stories are often gaslighted. We are told that we are no different than others. Even this season, my white teammate told me that I was going to get into college because I was Black, not because I have above a 4.0 and because I have many extracurriculars. You know, it's like a mindset people have, and it's not my job to unwire that. It's my job to help my people. So that's why I felt it was important for me to make this. And I honestly got a lot of inspiration from my coach, who made an inclusive space for us, who included Black prior athletes who played in Southeast, you know, like it wasn't like I was talking to, no offense, a white person who didn't experience what I experienced. I have no hate towards white people. I hope it does not come off like that. It's just my life is way different than a white person. And I want to add, a lot of people and a lot of peers of mine think that white privilege means that you did not have a hard life. It does not mean that at all. It just means that you being white was not one of the problems that you had to face. It was probably because you're poor, etc. So I just wanted to add that. But yeah.
I'm glad you did, and thank you for your answer. Now, in addition to a lot of the things I do, I'm also on the Union Tribune Community Advisory Board. And as a member of that board, we're asked to write a story that appears in the Monday Union Tribune called Somebody You Should Know. And I'd like to write a story about you. I want your story to be told. I'm going to talk about how you were discovered here, but you've got a story to be told. Doesn't everybody agree with that? And I think that what we're hearing right now, and that goes back to what Vanessa said earlier, the athletes know, the student athletes know, the young people know what's going on around them. I've got 5 kids. My oldest son has been blasting stuff. And many of you may have seen it on Facebook, Mike Brunker Jr. And when you read the things he's been writing, not just recently, but for a long time, I'm proud of him and the way he's come across in that kind of way. So, Delina, thank you again. Andrea, thank you for inviting your athlete to be here, as well as Mike with Isaiah. Next up is Lonnie. And once again, if you'd like to speak, put your name in the chat and you'll be coming up after Lonnie right now.
First thing I just want to say, thanks, Jeff, for putting this on again. Thank you for everyone coming back, and to the new people, appreciate y'all. To the young man from Saints, Delina from San Diego High, appreciate your voices. This is about y'all. You know, what can we do as influential adults to help make your futures successful and more importantly, safer? So appreciate hearing what you guys got to say. Coach Ryan Meyer, want to say congratulations for going down to the Mount. I truly believe you're going to help those kids down there do great things. But I was just sitting here listening to some things like about privilege, and it brought me a couple things. One, about the do-rags. I love my coworkers at the High. One of them's like basically a big brother to me. But you know, we had our disagreements on bandanas, and for me, I felt how Delina felt, that it was, you know, again, coming across on our culture kind of deal. And, you know, our school did a tremendous job of easing it up. And it wasn't per se Lincoln standards, it was more our district standards. And it just really singled out, I felt it singled out the culture. You know, we wouldn't single out other cultures and what they've done. And I just found that amazing. Like, you know, some of our kids need to wear do-rags. Some of our young ladies, you know, because of their hairstyle and their lack of confidence, they don't want to be made fun of. They need to wear a scarf to hold down the front of their hair, because they don't have the money like some of these other kids do, and demographics do, to get their hair done a couple $100. And it's funny because a lot of other demographics are stealing, well, I'll say borrowing, to be nice, Black hairstyles with the weaves and things like that. So, you know, again, some of our kids, because of new growth and things like that, they need to be allowed to feel comfortable and not be targeted to be talked about. Because that's what kids do. Let's be real. Kids, you know, their maturity levels are different, but for most, they're going to try to be funny and say something funny. That's what they do. So, you know, again, I just wanted to touch base on that real fast. And then on the privilege thing, this is funny because it was a Friday night at Lincoln this season. I forget who our girls team played, but our boys played Sarah. And again, this is at Lincoln. And one of our great young men that plays on the boys team, also a football player, one of the nicest kids I've ever met in my life. Super nice. Yes, sir. No, sir. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Actually had one of his best games of the year against Sarah, to a point where Sarah parent became very belligerent in the stands. She was a Caucasian woman, white woman, and basically was saying some things that were extremely inappropriate. Now, I didn't hear them, but everybody's story was the same. So she said them to a point where this young man's mother heard, and the young man's mom was basically, again, nice woman, They're not even from San Diego. Well, she's not. She's born, I believe, raised out in the South. But she was just basically like, hey, that's my son. Watch what you're saying. That's somebody's child. Well, what I noticed was I was actually walking by the boys' bench, heading into the foyer. And as I was coming back in, I seen this white lady jogging down the steps behind our boys' bench. Now, they shouldn't have been behind our bench either. And then I'm like, where is she going? That's just a security guard to me. So I'm like, where is she going? So I turned, and then I seen her make a left into the women's restroom. So I'm like, oh, man, she got to go. Well, not even 20 seconds later, basically she went in there after the boy's mom, our own player's mom, and fought the mother in the bathroom with witnesses. Witnesses were saying that the mom was like, hey, don't come in here with that, and, the lady, well, she has some marks that, hopefully she thought better, make better choices in the future. But the reason I'm telling you guys this story is, one, this woman, we did our research on her and people in there were talking. This same woman doesn't comprehend that she's not African American, but I guess she feels because she had a black husband, she felt entitled she can go to the next level and take things to a whole nother level. And I guess she also got kicked out of football games and things like that because of what she's done. Now, the part that I'm gonna mention that's important to me is not how she acted. It's actually how our school police handled it. Our school police were more inclined to getting our African American parent off campus, who was there for her child, who was attacked in the bathroom. Our parent actually left without. I took her out the side door because this white lady was in front of the gym with her black husband, who tried to come into the bathroom and attempt to fight too. She didn't leave. Basically said she wasn't going nowhere. And our school police were so concerned about our kid's mom, who actually with no issue, she was like, hey, coach, I have no issues with going home. This is about my son. This woman attacked me and it's obvious they don't want to listen to me. So yeah, coach, I'll leave with no problem. So we walked her to the car. The police didn't even realize we walked her to her car for her safety. We didn't walk her because she was a threat. We walked her because she was attacked. And we want to make sure we had witnesses. But what made me just feel some kind of way, and it brought it up right now when the young lady mentioned Coronado, is that this woman did not leave our facilities until the game was over, and actually probably 25 minutes after the game, stayed out front. And for me, I'm very simple. 1 + 1 is 2. So for me, I'm looking at it when the young lady brought up Coronado and privilege, that's how I felt. We were so quick, and I feel that our officers who were not black, who were, I think they were scared of, because of it being Lincoln and a black parent possibly going off on them. They were so concerned with just saying she needs to go, that they allowed this white lady to stand there and still cause issues when the game was over, talking loud out front. So, that's just some things we're facing. I know we can't give an answer to that right now, but I just wanted to throw that out there. When she brought up Coronado, that really just brought up something that was amazing to me. I was just like, wow, I totally remember this. And again, that's part of what people don't understand is black and white privilege is night and day. How you can act, what you can say, your comfort level to feel you can say what you want to say, when we have to police what we say and we have to police our actions. Last Zoom call, we talked about would a coach give up their job or risk their job of coaching for their player. Well, I'm gonna say this to the whole panel. From last week on, I made that decision. If any of my kids take a knee, I'm taking a knee. If my job has to go to protect my player, then it wasn't worth me coaching at that school. I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm not talking about violence or nothing like that. But if they're talking about, you can't take a knee, you shouldn't be doing this, you shouldn't be doing that. Again, nonviolent protest is where we're at, and I'm gonna support my players. So me supporting my players and being in their lives, when they're getting married, getting their college degrees, moving on with their families, and still being in contact with them, that's way more important to me than coaching on the sideline on a Friday night. So, Andrea Bird is one of my former players, and I enjoy my random text messages from her in our calls. I got some Samir Mesa boys on here that I had the privilege of being on their sideline last year. But more importantly, I had a bigger privilege of being their on-campus security guard and talking with them every day. So for me, it's the bigger picture. Coaching is a gift. And I have no issues with giving that gift up for keeping the blessing of being positive in today's youth and letting them know I support them. So that's all for me.
So appreciate it, Lonnie. And Andrea's going to want to comment on this. Not yet, Andrea, but before we do, the athletes on the call right now, because Lonnie says something that's really important. I mean, it's rough enough, right? As an athlete getting ready to play a big game, you get coached up, you know, you're doing all your drills and working on your plays and trying to go over your scouting reports and remembering all that. But I'd like to hear from the athletes right now about how do you feel about going on the road and playing these teams? Or, you know, what, is there any thoughts to go on? It's bigger than the game, right? You know, it's more than just X's and O's. Can you guys talk about that in terms of what is it like as a team? Do the coaches really cover those issues? And then for many of you coaches that are on that are maybe not in the city, when let's say you go to a Lincoln, right? I mean, and how do your parents and your kids feel about going into that environment, and what's those conversations look like? Let's talk about that a little bit if we can. Let's start with the athletes first. So I see we've got quite a few. Who'd like to begin?
May I begin?
No surprise. I knew you'd be in there. Come on now.
I'm sorry.
No, don't apologize. That's good.
Well, when it comes to, like Coach Lonnie said, like being aware of their privilege, like they're preparing for it, like he said, a lot of times what I do is I tried my best, but like the situation with Coronado, or we played West Hills as well, there by Santana. Their coach had some, I don't even remember what it was, but I knew it was some, like, don't worry about the word, like some get. It had something to do with that word. I remember hearing it so clearly, and then we beat them, and they were so rude to us. But when it comes to dealing with teams like that, I think, I don't know if I speak for all of my people of color or Black teammates or athletes, but a lot of times I just use that as motivation, if that makes sense. A lot of times we're being taught to work twice as hard to get as much. So a lot of times, like, I use it as motivation, you know, like to steal the ball faster, to run faster, get back on defense faster, you know, because I know that if I were to speak up about what the player's doing, it'll seem as if I'm victimizing myself, or like I'm bringing race into sports. Like I mentioned previously, a lot of times people say that they don't go hand in hand when they do. So I think a lot of players, including me, we use it as motivation. We beat them. We see the sad faces on their face, and we leave. So yeah.
We got it. We got any other athletes who'd like to talk on this topic?
Yeah, I say, please.
Okay.
You want to go first?
Xavier? Okay.
So I actually play at Mira Mesa with Coach Pierce and with Anthony Galambos. And Coach Pierce, he definitely likes to talk to all the students. Like, we have our weekly Zoom meetings where we talk about current issues. And we've definitely touched upon this subject a lot, and how the players felt, all players, whether you were white or African-American or anything like that. And I feel like Coach Pierce has done a great job trying to connect with all of us, trying to keep us all together, and that we all can stick together, stay united in a sense. And when I've played travel basketball at Mira Mesa, I haven't heard most students' remarks, especially on our sports program, say anything to other teams. But I've played club ball at a place I'd rather not say. But some of my teammates have definitely said racist remarks, and a lot of teammates don't feel like they should say something. Like, they feel as if they're scared. They don't want to be judged by the other teammates. But I heavily disagree with that. Many players on that team are scared. You know, if they stand up for something that they believe in, they feel like they're going to be judged badly. And I feel like that even goes into the coaching staff on that club team. They should hold all of us accountable, and they should make it so that it's a safe environment for all people, whether you're white or you're Black or you're Latino or anything, that you can stand up for yourself. You can say something, that you can express how you feel, and you shouldn't feel like you're going to be penalized, whether you're going to sit the bench or your teammates are going to pass you the ball. I feel like that should be something that all coaches should follow, not just some coaches. That's just how I feel.
Appreciate that. Now, we also have on here, I know Isaiah wanted to jump in, and right behind him, Tristan and Mike Temple. So you got the floor. So let's start with Isaiah right now.
Both. So sort of, I guess the question in the chat that Talib asked about asking Coach Hop about the student sections and stuff. I think at Saints we have a really, really great student section. The Pit, they're really crazy, but they're really supportive. And it's sometimes like they can get a little out of hand, and going with like both ways, like receiving those comments and having like the Pit even saying them sometimes. I think one thing that is really important is being able to talk to those people in the Pit, like the leaders in the Pit and stuff like that, because obviously the administration and like the teachers and everything are going to talk to them and stuff, because that's who we are at Saints. Like obviously we don't want them saying that stuff. That's really bad, but hearing it from the players and hearing it from other students is really what's going to get them to like know what's right, know what's wrong. And that's one thing that's really important that I think I try and myself and my other teammates try and do, talking to those people doing those things, which definitely helps a lot.
And how does that make you feel about the adults that are watching this going on? And I mean, you're out there playing a basketball game, and yet should that be your job to try and settle down the Pit? You know, aren't there adults that could be stepping in to help make that happen? I remember when our one daughter went to Bishops, and those games at Country Day were pretty interesting. Lord have mercy. The things were coming out of that stand, the signs that the students were writing and posting and putting them up proudly, you know, and we all looked at that, and I'm the kind of person that will say something. I'd say that you can't do that. You know, you can't be cursing people out like that. But at some point, I think, and this is where these conversations go, is what is the responsibility of the adults when that all happens? Tristan, what do you have to say about this?
You gotta get the one at the top too.
Very good. Tristan?
Use your phone then.
You're on mute, Tristan.
Hello?
Okay, we got you. Oh, Lord. You got a couple phones going.
Sorry about that.
You got cut off one. There you go. We hear you.
Hold on.
Now you're muted.
I'm doing well. It's hard to hear, so.
We can hear you.
Okay, got it. So my name's Tristan. Right now, I currently attend Imperial Valley College. I went to high school with Coach Ellis. My bad. Sorry. I played for Olympian high school basketball with Coach Ellis. He was my coach. So I just want to thank everyone for letting me be in this group chat and speak up. But first, I just wanted to agree with everyone that talked, which is Isaiah, Delina, and Xavier. But also, I just want to explain that I grew up in Virginia, and Virginia is kind of a racist state. So throughout my 9 years living there, I had to deal with a lot of that was going on there. And I'm gonna be honest, it was horrible. Like, it was horrible to deal with, horrible to hear, and it was hard to speak up there. Not a lot of people spoke, especially nobody spoke up. But also, I want to talk about how I moved to Chula Vista, East Chula Vista, and I grew up with, around the predominantly Filipino race, and they didn't have anything nice to say about Black people as well. Like, a lot of the stuff I heard just wasn't nice. Like, a lot of people didn't want to hang around me because I was Black, stuff like that. Dark skin as well. But what was good about how I grew up was that my mother was very strong about being Black. So she told me that while being dark, that to never be discouraged for being dark or for being Black, like to be proud about it, just to live and move on, and just be happy, for being Black. So I want to talk about that as well. But basically, also want to talk about was how the Jordan
Tristan, you're breaking up on us right now.
Situation has changed the world almost, because now we have all races standing up and saying that this is wrong, like that we need a change, which is very good. But the problem is, in my
Okay, I think we may have lost Tristan. Tristan, are you there? How about his teammate Michael Temple? Michael, are you available to speak right now?
Hello, can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can.
Well, I'm Michael Temple. I went to Olympian High School, and I graduated 2018. I took basketball very seriously in high school, and Coach Ellis was my coach the entire way. Definitely one thing that I challenge, all the coaches in the chat and people alone to know. One thing I challenge everyone in general to make it clear that. Hold on.
Keep going,
Tristan,
Michael.
still going?
No, he's
No,
up now.
you can go on. I'll go on.
Okay, Michael.
Okay. Well, one thing that I challenge all people, and especially coaches, is that to preach that life is bigger than basketball. One thing that I always understood, even though I'm a college athlete now, and I go to a very small D2 school out Iowa, and we even play big schools and we play basketball. My life is constantly basketball. One thing I really want people to understand, especially of ethnicity, is that you don't have to be a hooper or the next rapper or the next singer to be successful in life. Although it's glamorized and it's idolized in our society, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's your calling or that's your path. Because at times growing up, it felt like my only way, because I know my parents weren't capable of paying for me to go to college, but I wasn't also aware that you can get financial academic scholarships. You can win science awards. You can whoever's given money, grants, scholarships just for performing well in the classroom. One thing that I really challenge everyone on the call to preach is that basketball isn't basketball, rapping, whatever has been idolized, especially in the African American community today, really isn't the end all be all. You could be a doctor, you could be that nurse, you can be that person that drives the ambulance, you can be that next actor even. You can whatever it is. I want people to know that basketball is just because I'm a basketball player, that doesn't mean that that's all that I am, and that doesn't necessarily mean that that's all that any hooper is, any basketball player is. So that's just one thing that I really want to take a stand for, that challenge your guys' players, challenge your peers, just challenge your teammates. Let them know that this isn't all you got. There's more to it. There's way more to it. So that's all that I have to say on it.
And I'm sitting here looking at you, Michael, right now, and I'm saying, is that the same little Michael Temple that played at the Jackie Robinson YMCA, man? Oh,
Right.
Lord have mercy, man. I mean, when did you start playing at the Y? You about 4 or 5 years old or whatever it was. But Michael, what I want you to talk about right now, and if you're not familiar with the Temple family here in San Diego, tell us about the influence of your family in terms of where you are today, and how did that help you? Because I know your parents I know your uncles, I know your aunts, you know, we know the family, you know, your grandparents, the Lincoln connection, right? Strong Lincoln connection with the Temple
Right.
family. But how did that help get you where you are today?
Being understanding where I come from, and I'm sorry for the roof. I'm in the basement. But being where I come from, understanding where I come from and understanding my value, what was essential, you know, to get me to where I'm at today. And quite frankly, I'm not even at where I plan to be at. So where I'm at right now is just the start of a beginning for me. And to me, a lot of people, especially my peers, believe that, you know, and there was nothing after high school. People didn't have plans. People believe that, you know, like I said, this basketball stuff, if you don't get an offer in high school, then you won't ever get one. Or, you know, you gotta hit the streets in Lincoln. You know, my family, I'm blessed enough to come from a family where you know, there is a bit of a legacy. And, you know, my uncle did play overseas, and, you know, my dad did play college football. So to understand, you know, where I come from and what my family represents was important to me. And you know, it shows by the way I carry myself and my demeanor, and never forgetting where I come from, regardless of where I'm at, or regardless of wherever, you know, the next workouts are, the game is, or the pickup games are, or, you know, no matter what room I'm sitting in, you know, I understand all of that, and I understand where I come from.
I appreciate that, Michael, and congratulations to you, and best of luck in this coming season coming up right now. So right now, Jeff has got a question for Isaiah, and then we're going to come back to Andrea real quick, who wants to follow up on a Lonnie comment, and then Gary, you're next. So Jeff, you got that question for Isaiah.
Yeah, I think you also miss Izelle. I think she had a question. My question is, who did I say it for?
Isaiah,
I'm sorry. Isaiah, planning a program as high profile as St. Augustine is. You're going to be a senior, correct?
Yes.
So 4 years ago, you was there when the Tamir Rice situation, when the 12-year-old Tamir Rice was killed in Cleveland for having a gun. Let me ask you this: what makes it the difference from now with George Floyd? Why is it discussed? Well, or let me put it like this: was that discussed when Tamir Rice passed, or was that discussed about Trayvon Martin or Oscar Grant? Or now is it because, you know what I'm saying, everybody's talking about it, it's the talking piece?
Yeah, I honestly don't really remember any discussion about any of those people when I was a couple years ago. But I think now that everyone's talking about it, definitely is a really big topic for discussion. Everyone's really talking about it now.
good question, Jeff, and probably too, I think we'd all agree, this one right here, George Floyd, everybody saw it too, right? We saw it everywhere repeatedly, time and time again. I mean, in full close-up, and I think that's really put people over the edge now. Andrea, are you ready to come back? Your comment for Lonnie.
No, it's just kind of to add on top of, you know, what he was saying is that, you know, that it's bigger than basketball. And, you know, he instilled that when I played, and I know he talked about how the mom got escorted from the game. And one of the biggest things that my girls have talked about during our Zoom chats is representation. So they don't see it on campus. You know, there's not teachers that look like them. There's not counselors that look like them. There's barely enough counselors to even talk to the students that are there. And I think that's a huge part of it, is that they don't have that space to go to. They don't feel like they have people on campus that they can go to. You know, I was lucky to have Coach Lonnie on campus when I played basketball. You know, there was other students that didn't even play basketball that knew that they could go confide in Coach Lonnie. But unfortunately, that's not the same for a lot of these schools, and representation, unfortunately, is not there. In at least our school, I can't speak for every other school, but at least at San Diego High, it's not. You know, if you ask Delina, she hasn't had a Black teacher yet. So that's another thing to add.
Got it. Okay. Itzel, did you want to say something?
Yes, I had like a few questions because me myself, I'm not an athlete, but I did manage the basketball team with Coach Jeff at Lincoln High School last year, and I managed the team. But I've seen it happen several times. Like our boys always have a target on their back, and I want to help those boys and those girls that have the target in their back. Not only because I understand what they're going through, because I'm a colored person myself, but because I feel that they need not only to come together as themselves, but they need support as well. So I've been trying to like understand what I could possibly do to help them, because there was one time where my best friend was simply walking me home from us being together at their house, and then he texted me that he got pulled over because he looked like he was a gangbanger. And it's not like he didn't have no tattoos. It was just because of the color of his skin and the color that he was wearing and the area he was around. So I just want to like ask questions about how can others help that are not in that community exactly.
So let's do that now. So if you're not in the Lincoln community, Itzel just had a wonderful question. What can you do to help address what she just identified? Who'd like to take that for us?
I'll
Coaches?
mention something. Itzel, one
Okay,
of the
all
best
right.
things that you can do is educate yourself on the law. Because when you guys get stopped, there's a lot of things that you don't have to answer. Knowing that you don't have to say a word can be the thing that saves you. Make sure a parent is present, or you ask for a lawyer first. You never have to answer any of their questions. As soon as they stop you, unless they have probable cause, all you have to tell them is, I'm not going to answer any questions. They ask you a different question, I'm not going to answer any questions. Familiarize yourself with your state laws and your local laws. That way, when something happens, you guys have a full understanding of what you can and cannot do.
Good points, good points. Is Gary Holloman still on, or did he leave? I apologize to Gary, you've been waiting so long. Okay, George, you had something you wanted to add?
Yeah, I want to add. I want to add a few things. It seems like I'm the only football coach on here, so I guess that's a good thing. But I always get to sit and enjoy basketball because that is my dream sport, my first love. It's funny. All the kids have talked about the schools that they have brought up in these Zoom meetings. I had an African American niece graduate from Coronado High School in 2005 with a 4.17 GPA, and her time there was just brutal. I mean, it was just hard as
George,
heck.
hold
Sorry
on
that her
for a minute,
stepfather
George.
was in the military.
George, hold on for a minute. Kwesi just came on. Can you mute yourself, Kwesi? There you go. Thank you. Okay, George.
Yeah. Sorry that her stepfather was in the military. They lived on the Strand, and she dealt with a lot of racism, at Coronado High School, and it was every day, just encouraging her to stay the course, to stay motivated. My godson went to Saints. Just being called the N-word at the Saints. I basically live 3 blocks from the Saints right now. And shoot, it ain't too many of me that lives in my neighborhood. But just to have, him deal with, the racism at that school. One of my mentors' son, Zach Green, who went to Cathedral. Yeah, his family came from money. But he dealt with some issues dealing with his blackness at Cathedral Catholic, and just because his parents or just because of who his father was, it was like he wasn't black enough when he participated against the black schools, and when he was playing for the white schools, he wasn't black enough to blend in with their crowds, being one of the black guys. So as a mentor of youth, I'm finding out they're dealing with all these situations at every school. Just think about what some of our white kids are dealing with at Lincoln High School. I don't mean to bring that up, but they're dealing with some things that keeps them uncomfortable. So everybody's dealing with a little bit of injustice in every campus. But I think us as the adults and as the leaders on this call, like Lonnie said, man, Lonnie did an amazing job at Mira Mesa with my ex's daughter. She's a mixed girl. She was on campus having a rough time at Mira Mesa, but thank God she had, guys like Lonnie on that campus. My godbrother, George Bell, who went to San Diego High. Thank God Robert Earl Dean was on that campus. The tremendous amount of work that Jeff does with the Stop the Bullying event he does every year. Thank God for that platform. I just believe that, we as the leaders have to get back to policing ourselves, but even more, embracing our kids and giving them that platform to be able to have someone to be an outlet to. I can tell you, as far as me coaching back at the high school level this year, man, some of the things that I had to deal with the referees on the sideline was very uncomfortable for me. I done been all the way up to the top as a coach, but to have to pull a referee aside and tell him what his ethics are as a referee to police a game or manage a game was sometimes beyond my pay grade as a coach. And if I have not elevated in coaching, I probably would have been one of those coaches on the sideline, frustrated and mad because of some of the things that people allow to happen. Just like we had a very ugly issue that happened at a game up north for us as Hornets. And it's like, now what? What's after the incident, I think is very important to me, because these scars don't just go away. These scars, sometimes you put a Band-Aid on them, they heal a little bit, but then there's someone else that comes along and peel the scabs off of it. So to you, Brunker, I'm asking you, what do you think we, as all the leaders on this call, what do you think we should do? And do we have an outlet where we could silently report someone without getting the target on our back? Because that's very important to me. Because if you speak up about a situation or you write in about a situation, well, we know in the Good Old Boy Network, I've been coaching 25 years. So in the Good Old Boys Network, after they come for their dinner at Bullies after the game, they have already prejudged what your next game gonna be like, whether you believe it or not. Thank God I got some crossover because I have some coaches that aren't of my color in my corner who come back and share these information with me about, hey, if you get this guy at your game, be careful. But I'm asking you, Brunker, what silent platform do we have as coaches where we can now protect our kids and continue to do our job?
I think that's a great question, and I'm going to ask others to chime in on this as well. But I would say that the climate that we're in right now, and everybody is hearing it in every venue, is everybody's acting like they want to do something different, right? They want to make changes. They recognize them, and they've observed and seen, George, the same things that you've been talking about right now and that we've heard here as well. And so it starts with, you have to confront it. I'm kind of confrontational in that kind of way. And if people don't want to listen, they report to somebody, then you just take it to the next level. But if indeed you're not feeling confident in your ability to go that path, then there are probably some trusted folks in the community that you can address it with, that could carry that ball for you and get it to the right answer. And I think that, and we can't stop. That's goes back to what King said in the mountaintop speech. I urge all of you, I talked about that last week, but take a minute, just download that from YouTube and listen to the mountaintop speech. And one of the things he said was, you got to stay the course. You can't give up. You can't stop. And the movement at that time stopped, and we saw what happened there. Right now, we've got a great opportunity while people are listening, and many on this call, to hear you know, to have Mike Hop from Saints here is active and engaged as he is, it's a beautiful thing. And now to have you coaches bringing your student athletes in is a beautiful thing. And I think all of us now as an athlete can go to the coach with the coach and go to administration and talk about these issues. And because I'll tell you right now, is you identify them and you bite it off one bite at a time, and, you know, not try and do everything, but just really try and create the environment where everybody feels safe, protected, respected, and dignified. But right now, Tristan wanted, he can, somebody, who is that? Okay, that's Milton Clark. Can you mute yourself, Milton, please? Tristan says he can't speak, but he put something in the text right here. He says, I'm not able to speak, but can someone say for me that we must keep, this is it right here, keep the movement alive, and that we must keep pushing. That's what King said, keep pushing this until there is a change. Also, that the youth must be the biggest initiator in change. I talked about that last week, what Jackie Robinson talked about in 1972, when he wrote the letter to Nixon. In life, because we shall soon inherit this world, and soon a younger generation will be looking at us. He then goes on, it starts with sports. The community looks at us and watches us, so we must push a lot of this change, even showing it on the court. And those are great comments. So Tristan, I appreciate you typing these in. Next, we're going to have up here, Xavier, you wanted to ask a question. So take it away, Xavier.
Yes, I was actually asking a question to, I think her name, or the name on there was Coco.
Coco is here.
She was basically saying how you don't have to answer some of these questions and to kind of learn more about your state laws and your local law. But my question was that doesn't that make it more of an issue when you're not being compliant, when you're starting to, I guess, quote unquote, trying to at least not listen to the police officer? I mean, they may be unjustly pulling you over, but doesn't that make the situation worse? Because then that makes them more frustrated that you're not complying with them?
Valid concern, but your concern more is your safety. And in this particular situation, she was saying that her friend was pulled over, stopped for no reason. He was being profiled. In any situation, when you're a minor, you don't have to talk to the police, especially as a minor. They will intimidate you and get you to say things that aren't true just because you're younger, So that's why it's important to understand. Yeah, of course, it's going to escalate the situation, but you don't know where the situation would have gone anyway. So it's better to just not even say anything unless your parent is present.
Good question, Xavier. With that.
Ooh, I'm so sorry. I put in the chat, but I don't know if you saw it, but I was.
Okay, go on.
Yeah. So I wanted to add to what Xavier was saying. I had a question for Coco, but isn't it that a lot of, according to statistics, Black people are targeted and police use violence twice as more as anyone else. So like Xavier said, if you are walking around in Lincoln, I didn't speak when Estelle speak because I live in the Lincoln neighborhood, but isn't it why would you want to put gasoline in the fire? Why, even though you don't know where the situation will take you, it's like you're walking blindly into a cliff. Why should we ask Black men and women to be silent? Folk cops who already think a certain way of us, if we're not responding to them, they're gonna think that we're being suspicious. And we already face so many racial disparities, especially in the police department and the system. It's how could you expect that of a child? Like you said, they're a minor. When, for example, I know he's an adult, but even Eric Garner wasn't doing anything, and he asked why he's being arrested, and then the next thing you know, he's in a chokehold and he's dead. So it's why would we ask our children, my peers, me, to provoke a situation? If I see a cop, I'm not going to be silent. I'm already scared for my life. You know what I mean? I'm not going to sit there and take it and let them abuse me. I'm going to comply with them because I want to make it out alive. And laws have never worked for us because we're trying to fight a system whose laws have failed us. So why would we listen to the same laws that put us in the situations that kill us?
Super valid, baby girl. I grew up in Southeast as well. I went to Morris. I played for Jeff all 4 years of my career, my high school career. So I understand the streets of Southeast completely. All my brothers, were put in juvie for no reason, just because they're Black. But the difference is when you don't speak, when you don't answer their questions, it prevents you from getting caught up in any little word games that they try to play with you. They will ask one question, and then they'll ask you that same question in a different way. And then now you've gotten yourself caught up in a lie because you didn't realize the word game they were playing. When you have an adult present with you, it makes it that much harder for them to catch you up. 100%. You can comply with them, find out what's going to happen. When you're saying, I refuse to answer any questions, what happens is if they don't have a legitimate reason to stop you, when you say, I'm not answering any questions, they immediately have to leave you alone, unless they have probable cause. If they don't, that's immediate, they're in trouble. Definitely, and also record this interaction, because you got to protect yourself in one way, because it's going to be your word versus theirs if they don't have their body cams on. So immediately when they approach you, turn that video camera on, and you're not answering questions, period.
Okay, I have one more thing. So to add on to that, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Sandra Bland, but if you've seen the video, she says, what are you arresting me for? I don't have to answer your question. And then the cop goes in, opens her door, and manhandles her and arrests her. And then when she's taken into custody, she's found dead, and the cops are free. So isn't that like proof of that not working? Do you know what I mean? Like,
unfortunately, in that situation, it wasn't, because what she was pulled over for is not putting on her blinker, and that's on camera of her not doing. So he definitely already had probable cause.
Okay.
That's that difference right there.
Yeah.
That's the little bit of difference, is he already had her. So she had to comply.
Hold on. Okay, well, let me just say this, though. Delana, that was a great question. Coco, you bring up some good points, but I think, I know Isaiah wanted to chime in on this. Take it.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about kind of both. I can see kind of both sides of both of your perspectives, because I was pulled over back in January a couple months ago, and I was pulled over because the headlight on my car was out. And so it started off with just one cop was pulling me over, and then like a couple minutes later, this is my first time ever being pulled over, so I was pretty nervous about what was gonna happen. But so one cop pulled me over, and then two more cop cars pulled up. So there's like 5 cops outside of my door, all just because of my headlight, and they were asking me a bunch of questions, and they wouldn't let me call my mom or anything. And I think that's just one situation that is different for us, like growing up Black, because I know my mom, like both of my parents, my dad is white and my mom is Black, so I see like both sides. But growing up, I've always been taught, like, do everything that they ask you to do, like don't ask questions, make sure they can see your hands. And I think just complying with them is really like the best thing that we can do, like not causing any more problems, because it's like, it's sad, but it's just the reality that we're in, that we have to do and comply with.
So George asked earlier about where do we go with all this, and once again, for those of you that are late on the call, I had a call earlier at 5 o'clock with all of the police chiefs and sheriff and the Black pastors in San Diego County, and there's going to be a big town hall coming up on July 9th. It'll be a Zoom meeting where everybody can participate. But if you look up in your upper left-hand corner, you can see that red button there. This is being recorded. So Coach Ellis, if you can promise me, please, that at the conclusion of this, can I get the recording of this so I could share it with all of those police chiefs and sheriffs so they can hear the concerns of our young people on this call tonight? John P., take it away, if you will. John P. will be followed by Travis, Joshua, Ivan, and Lonnie.
At the moment, I think I'd like to defer. I know a couple people have responses to George, and I kind of want to be able to let them lead that conversation. So I can defer if we have time later on. I'd like to ask a question.
Okay, who wants to talk to George? John, why don't you just take it away? I mean, you've been waiting a long time. A lot of folks jumped in ahead of you. Yeah.
I think Rich also had a
I wanted to reply to George.
Who's that, Lonnie?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Lonnie.
Okay, go on.
So,
go on, Lonnie.
So George, being mentored in coaching, me and Marshawn started out together and did it on our own. through trial and error. And for me, my high school experience, Coach Ali taught me a lot. And again, you asked Brunker about a silent platform to make reports. For me, as a black head coach, minority head coach, and even coming up as an assistant coach, one, I learned to do my job and stay in my lane. But then that same thing actually applied as a head coach, where we weren't on the same playing field. And to this day, we're not on the same playing field. I'm not trying to call out Saints or anything like that, but private schools in general, boys and girls side, a lot of North County schools, it's two different platforms where they get to walk. So, George, my answer to you is I'm just saying what I'm going to do, 'cause I'm only responsible for me. I'm not hopping on Arbiter no more and typing in to the officials, you know, the bias or what I think happened with this official, because they're going to talk about it regardless. So that so-called target is on our back regardless. As an outspoken minority head coach, there's a target on our backs.
Right.
So for me, what I'm doing next season and moving forward is I'm not dry snitching. So for those of y'all that don't, you know, that's a term we use. I'm not doing none of that. I'm speaking out loud. And as long as I'm spitting facts, I can live and die personally with where I'm going. You know what I'm saying? Where any potential consequences. So for me, you know, I love Lincoln as an alumni. I love Southeast. I love our admin. But if I have to have meetings next year because I'm speaking up for what's right, then again, you know, I'm doing what's more important moving forward, and I'm gonna be on the same playing field as these other coaches at these other high schools, with the freedom they have, you know, with what they say and what they get away with. And I'm not trying to get away with anything. I'm not trying to say that at all. What I'm saying is I'm just gonna vocally speak my mind. I'm gonna post it on different, you know, media outlets. And, you know, as long as I got video to back up what's going on, then it's gonna be said. And to the kids about getting pulled over and everything, you know, I don't know if there's a real true answer to that. And I'm sorry that as a minor, you got to go through those things. Again, you know, for you kids that just got on here, I went through that in La Mesa the week of senior night, getting harassed by La Mesa PD when I was buying my suit, to where multiple units did come up on me and I was just walking. So, you know, I would just suggest this. One, ask for a sergeant, number one. Be respectful. Ask for a sergeant. And then right when you get pulled over, turn your phones on. You don't got to point it in the cop's face. Just keep the audio on and let it run. You know what I'm saying? Let the audio run. And, you know, again, you know, I don't think there's a true, real answer to this, unfortunately. But, you know, try your best to be non-confrontational and, you know, to show that your parents and your loved ones brought you up in a respectable way where, you know, you can get out of that situation and your voice can be heard.
Good
Can I
points,
add a little
Lonnie.
bit
Good
to
point.
what George said?
Go on.
That's it for me.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Itzel, is that you?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So from my experience, I feel like the cops feel that they don't know that we know our rights. Like if we study our rights and we tell them, oh, this is my Fifth Amendment, like I don't have to speak to you guys, they try to use that as a weapon to make us feel a threat from them. So I feel like if you really study about it and let them know and make them understand, maybe respectfully, they won't be able to use that against you because they truly know that you like studied about that and you learned about it, so they can't use that as something to like put you behind bars, or like they can't use that against you at all. So I feel like it's best if you really study it and let them know that you know you're right, rather than to just stay quiet and rather than to just pretend that you don't know your rights.
Got it. Great feedback. And also too, there's somewhere in scripture too, Lonnie, where they talk about if you got a problem with your brother, you take it to him. If that doesn't work, you take a witness.
Yep.
If that doesn't work, take it to the tribunal. You put them on blast, and
Yes, sir.
there's a process. So I think it all can
Put them
happen.
on blast.
That's
Mr.
right.
Mr.
Now,
Bunker,
Gary, yes. Who's that?
can we go back a little bit? This is Robert Patman. Can we go back to the part where you was discussing about the head of the police departments and the pastors? I just kind of feel that the black pastors don't really. We have to get more than just black pastors in there. I think we need to get coaches in there. I think we need to get some guys from the OGs from the streets that's trying to make change in the community in there as well, because I believe that the black pastors don't really represent or understand where some of the young black men are coming from. So I think you need to get some people in a mindset that has the same mindset or come from the mindset of some of these young black men in the rooms with the head of the police, so we can get a better understanding. They can get a better understanding of what's actually going on.
Very good point, Robert. And once again, this is not the pastors and the chiefs and sheriff. This is the pastors organizing this town hall with the law enforcement folks and the leaders that have been leading all the protest marches. So anybody that's been involved with that will be coming in on that side. And it's going to be open. So anybody in the community that wants to attend the town hall, you can do that. I'll get the details and make it available to everybody on this call as well. So if you'd like to participate, be there. You can do that. Gary Holloman came back to us. Gary, are you ready for your comments? And then John P., followed by Travis, Joshua, iPhone, and then Rich.
Hey, I don't know if you guys can hear me. I'm downstairs at this time. I was trying to get a hold of my uncle. My uncle had been 25 years in the Department of Correction with the prison systems up in Oakland, up near San Quentin, Pelican Bay. His brother was 26 years in the Oakland Police Department as a detective. My father was a cop in the military for 26 years around the United States. And me, myself, I've been a person that a lot of friends know, been incarcerated, been going in and out of jail since I was 5 years old. Been able to, got kicked out of colleges, got kicked out of high schools, didn't know who my father really was, even though I lived with him. My mother, who was a victim of stuff. So when we talk about some, matter of fact, after my dad retired from the military, he worked with Jeff Hartman at the appropriations department. He did that for 10 years and retired before he passed away about 5 years ago. So when I hear some of the things that we talk about, first of all, you guys done an outstanding job, and not just Jeff or you, Mr. Bunker, but everybody that's on the panel, because most of the people that I've seen on the panel for the last, been out here since '98, has done an outstanding job of trying to work together as a community, try to work together as an individual, try to reach their high schools and middle school, even when they were starting doing club, getting into coaching, wanted to be a mentor, wanted to work with their communities. You guys did an outstanding job. So let me just put that out there. I've seen you guys grow. We all grown in different areas and different things. We also grew as a community. One thing that really gets to me, that I listened to from the first one and I listened to this one, is just the fact that we're willing to discuss some things and let the past go and go forward as a community, as an individual, to get the best of what these young people are talking to us about. Even if they don't play any sports, you listen to them, they're very intellectual, they very understand what's going on in society, but at the same time, they've been talking to people that's been around to get some information. And that's why when people talk about the young people, I agree. They listen to what we say. Basically, remember how we used to tell them at the table, like, this is grown folks conversation, but they still ease in, you know what I mean, and listen to us. And they get to understand what our big mama said, our granddaddy said about speaking up, talking, and working together as a community. The question I have for everybody is that, as an individual, when do we put our personal feelings as a fact as me becoming a being a referee, working the 66 programs, working after school programs, doing anger management classes, DUI, all sorts of stuff. When do we as coaches, as people in society, that we work together without animosity and reflection on that? That's where I want to be, because I see a lot of guys and girls, women that want to move forward as helping the community, but in their past, just like myself, been still condemned of what they did. So how do we move forward to build trust? How do we move forward to have these conversations where, we kind of spoke about real quick on how business is business. How do we feel to be uncomfortable to say, hey, look, I said something about Mr. Bronker. I don't want to be upset with me. I just want to discuss it a little bit and not take it so personal. So that's where I want to be at, Mr. Bronker, and thank you so much. I appreciate it, and thanks to panel.
Thank you, Gary. John P., you ready?
Yeah, thanks, Michael. First, I'd just like to recognize and kind of introduce a couple of Mira Mesa athletes that joined in on the conversation today. You guys have gotten to know Xavier Weckman a little bit through his thoughtful comments and questions. He's a rising senior in our program, as well as Anthony Galambos, who had to leave the call but was here for a while. And what I really appreciate about those young men is I gave this option. I opened this up to everybody in our program. And these are the two young men who hit me back almost instantly and wanted to join in on the conversation, listen and learn, and share their thoughts as well. So I appreciate those two young men for joining. I'd also like to thank all the other athletes for speaking up. I truly believe that they've had the most meaningful insights in this conversation. So thank you for that. Delina, something that stuck with me that you brought up is you said you felt tired of having to teach, especially white people, about Black history and inequality in our country. You said something like, hey, Google's available, right? And something that I've really recently internalized is, racism just being a white problem. And so what am I going to do about it? Because it's my problem, and it's a white problem. So we shouldn't have to lean on Black men and women to teach us about those experiences. And so Xavier, to your point, you asked, hey, you're in a gym, you're in your travel practice, and someone makes a racist comment or a racist joke. The short, sweet saying is, silence is compliance. And if you don't speak up in that setting, I heard something good about, if a white person doesn't speak up, they gain social capital within their group. But if you don't speak up, you're buying into the status quo, and you're letting the status quo be normal. And so you can lose a little bit of that social capital. I think that's what we have to do as white men and women, is lose our social capital within our group, if that's what it comes down to, and get out. Maybe you do get, ostracized by your other white friends, but that's okay, because it's not okay to let that slide. And then, last thing is, I'm just gonna turn it over. There's a long list of people that still have to speak, and I'm still sinking in from Don's statement last time. That white people need to take this conversation to white spaces. That's something that I've reflected on, but I also like to turn it over to people who are more intelligent than me, more experienced than I am. And just thinking about what are these white spaces that would be most valuable to bring these conversations to, or for me to bring these conversations to. Thank you.
John, thank you. I appreciate that. Next up is, and before we go on too, and what John just said too, is the general task of leadership is to bring an unwelcome reality to an individual, an organization, an institution, a community, but there's an and proposition in between. It's bring a solution. And what I've heard tonight is that we heard a lot of solutions right here, especially coming from the young folks as well. And if we keep on that track, we are going to make an impact. Travis is next, followed by Joshua, Rich, and then Dan P.
Hello, thank you, Jeff, for inviting me. Travis Nichols. I played at San Diego High back in the day. I ended up playing at Mesa College. I've been an assistant coach at Mesa College for the longest time. Now I'm the head coach. I'm going into my 4th season. I also did 2 seasons at Hoover High School under Ollie Gooston as well. You guys had well, before I get into the N-word, you guys had a great conversation the last time in here about the N-word. Got a little heated, but it was a great conversation. And Lonnie said some great things. I just want to touch on that. But I want to say at Mesa, there are not a lot of instructors. I also teach at Mesa too as well. So I'm the head coach and I teach. There are not a lot of people that look like me, especially in the teaching role. I teach Health 101. It's surprising at times when I would teach health, the students that would come in and they will look at me, especially the Black students. They're like, "Are you the instructor?" I'm like, "Yes." I'm like, "I haven't had a Black instructor forever." So being in this role that I'm in, I don't take it lightly. I don't take it for granted. One being the head coach and one being an instructor. I think I'm the first African American head coach dealing with basketball at Mesa. So,
Yes.
So it's a huge deal for me, and that beam of light is on me. And one thing that I wanted to change once I took over as a head coach, because under white coaches, the N-word, it wasn't too much said. With the music, of saying the N-word, just blasting out of the music, with the words towards women, the B's and other type of language. And as a youngster, I used the N-word a lot. I cuss for some of the people that played basketball against me in here. I had a foul mouth. But as I got older and as I started reading history, and as they said, old heads telling me, look, you need to learn your history. And once you learn your history, you'll stop using that word. I used to push it to the side. But once I started reading books, I had a great understanding. So at Mesa, and this is for Lonnie, because you did a good thing by you called out coaches and asked, what are you doing? At Mesa, young men come into my program and their parents know, once you step foot in my program, that word is not allowed. If you see young men doing push-ups, they're doing push-ups because they said the N-word or they said some cuss words. They look at me as this whole moral thing. You can call it moral, you can call it whatever, but even in playing basketball games, now referees, they're giving you a technical if you say the N-word. They're definitely giving you technicals if you cuss. So young men coming into our program, it's just not accepted. I don't believe that I'm your buddy and your friend to allow you to say the N-word. We don't play that within the music of degrading women and in the use of the N-word. We just don't allow that. So as a Black coach, I want everyone to know that I feel, and I'm taking the lead with Lonnie, is that it is on us to help detour that, because what I learned is it wasn't just the Black athletes. I had my white athletes, I had my Mexican athletes. They was just all saying it, and no one was saying a thing, and they were just looking at it, and I'm like, well, what is this? Oh, coach, it's not a thing, it's in the music. Well, that's something that we have to stop. So I want to let you all know that as a coach, especially the coaching staff, I have another coach, Coach Talib. He's the next man in charge over at Mesa College. The two Black men that are running things over there, we don't play it, and it's just not allowed. Thank you.
As you were saying that, and Delina, I know you put a comment in here. I think he answered what you said, right? He said, Delina said, penalize your non-Black students that say the N-word. What I'd like to do at this time is if you go down to the bottom, you see the share screen, it's green, and then you have record and reactions. Hit that record thing and you'll see a thumbs up there. If you agree with what Travis and Lonnie have been saying, hit the thumbs up, okay? I just want to get a poll real quickly to see if you're in agreement. And if you feel that it's okay to use the N-word, don't put it up.
And the non-Black ones get the treatment too. I'm letting you know that.
Exactly, exactly. Okay. So before we go on to Joshua Rich, pardon me?
Can I really quickly ask a question on that, please?
Go on.
So I had a conversation with one of my assistant coaches that attended the meeting last time, actually, in regards to Lonnie's conversation with use of the N-word. And I expressed to him, I said, I sometimes feel awkward as a white man, correcting these kids for using the N-word, and they kind of look at me sometimes and say, yeah, but how could you know, coach? It's not, it's not your place, coach, kind of thing. And I'm wondering, what is my best rebuttal? Not rebuttal, that's probably the wrong word, not an argument. What is my best stance to take as a white coach to express that word should not be used in the context of our gym?
It's your program, your culture, and put them on the baseline.
Who said that? Who was that?
Lonnie did.
Lonnie?
Yep.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yeah, I don't use it. I don't like it.
Robert Potman's next. Okay, Robert, hit your
I
comment,
disagree
Robert.
with Lonnie because same fact, you don't know where these kids come from. So you just to say, dog, for a white man to tell me, oh no, you can't say that and get on the baseline. That's not respect. You got to, at least if you're going to disagree, give me a reason why we disagree. Have a discussion with them before you say just jump on the line. So if you tell me just as a teenager just jump on the line because I use the N word and you're a white man, you're going to tell me I can't use a certain word. That's not going to ride with me. So I don't think that wouldn't solve the issue. That wouldn't build respect in with the coach and the player. I think there needs to be more discussion about it.
Robert, Big Rob. Hey, my apologies.
He hears you,
for
Lonnie.
saying that. Robert, my apologies for saying that so fast, but I know Coach Pierce, so I know when he has his preseason meeting, when he picks his team and his parents or players are there. I've sat in them before. I know he addresses respect all. Understand your words can cost you. So that's why I just said that to him that fast instead of going into great detail. My apologies for not being clear.
But also, Lonnie, to add with what you're saying, I agree 100%. But like, I don't like I'm in. So, I'm different. I don't even like cuss words being used to get my point across to a kid. To each his own, but that's not something that I do. Even when I coached on the college level, like we had if you said a cuss word or say any degrading word, you had 25 push-up punishment. If you said it twice, you had a 50 push-up punishment. Everybody knew from the head coach to the bottom guy on the depth chart that this is what we was gonna do. There was not gonna be any degrading terms to tear down anyone to be used, even if the leaders that you're following don't use them. And Robert, I coached too, Robert. There were times where me as a young coach, we would get into it. But it's those things that you have to stand for that separates you and that the kids respect you for. That goes a long way.
Yeah, good comment, George. And I think also too, and we do have a lot of people who want to get on here, but on this topic, I want to thank Talib for talking about the history of the word. That's always good. Do we know the history of the word and its connotation? But at the end of the day, you got to keep at it. And then let's also remember too, coaches, if you're out there cursing, are you going to do the push-ups and run the lines
Yes,
too?
sir. Yes, sir.
It's got to be a higher standard character count.
Yes.
And Joshua, you're next. Take it away, Josh. Oh, hold on. Before Josh, Jeff Harper Harris. Jeff here, and he is the creator of this forum. And so when he wants to speak, I'm going to stop on the spot because he had a question for Isaiah.
Isaiah, I'm interested because when you said you got pulled over by the police, first of all, where was you at when you got pulled over?
I was in Mira Mesa. I was right beside my house. I was leaving to go to a friend's house.
Okay, what type of car was you driving?
A Prius, a red Prius.
Okay. Having a father who's Caucasian and a mom who's African American, who's giving you the most advice being a black man? Because you got pulled over one time.
Yeah.
I can tell you, I got a kid probably who's still on here, Marquise, that played for me. Marquise is a 4.2 student. Marquise is a 3-sport athlete. Marquise, is at Nevada now playing football. I can guarantee you that he's been pulled over more times. And his dad's Rob, and as coaches, we've talked to him how to handle that, like we talked before. When you got pulled over, what side kicked in? Did the black side kick in or did the white side kick in? Because when you said that if you do everything right, I can tell you, Marquise, the kid south of 8, We've seen the Castile shooting when he did everything right and got blasted 9 times. We've seen, so I'm saying, so what side kicked in to like, am I getting pulled over? Because you said 5 other cops pulled up. Did they know when you first pulled up, do you think the officer knew he was mixed? Did you think he said he was black? How did you feel, you know what I'm saying? What side kicked in?
I think my black side kicked in like during that situation, just knowing my past and like my history and everything like that, like knowing how my mom is black and that it is part of who I am. So definitely that side of me, yeah, knowing that I need to keep calm, make sure they can see my hands, stuff like that. One thing that I did try and do was like record it and call my mom and stuff like that, but they didn't let me have my phone out. Like I was trying to call my mom, but they told me to put my phone away and stuff like that. So yeah.
I'm gonna tell you, man, I respect you a lot, you know what I'm saying, for, you know, because just as our kids get the perception, I know you got it tough coming both ways, you know what I'm saying? Playing at Saints and then playing against inner city kids. I know it's you probably sometimes feel like you ain't gonna never win, but let me tell you, man, I highly respect you, you know what I'm saying? Because I know it's tough, you know what I'm saying? Vanessa's on here, you know what I'm saying, who's related to me. It's tough for her because her mom is Caucasian, you know what I'm saying? So I respect you for even coming on here and for even talking about it, you know what I'm saying? And I hope it helps somebody, you know what I'm saying? The second thing is to my coaches. How are you talking, or maybe let me first change that. Are you talking to your kids about the police and being pulled over by the police? You know what I'm saying? I know, you know what I'm saying? I know Marshawn, I know Lonnie, and I'm not saying that, I'm saying that from a coach at Lincoln, and I coached at Morris, at Southeast, and I know we have to. You know what I'm saying? I know Marshawn have to. When your kids leave practice, you know what I'm saying? I've seen Marquise at Lincoln lead practice, and I'm paranoid when they pull out of Lincoln. You know what I'm saying? Because I know if they go left, the police is on that corner. If they go right, you know what I'm saying, the police is hanging out of Lincoln Park. As coaches, are we having that conversation with them? Like, okay, you know what I'm saying? Just like Isaiah said, you know, hey, I remember what my mom and dad said, put your hands, you know what I'm saying? But is the coaches being inferring that, or is it just like practice over, go home? I know I can't say that. I know Marshawn can't say that. You know what I'm saying? I know Lonnie can't say that. You know what I'm saying? I know, you know, hey, Ryan, I know you're going to Mount McGill. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just asking the coaches, what are we saying? Or are we even talking about it?
Well, I'm glad. I mean, this is a big part of why I'm here, because I know I'm going to have that. And that's a number of the conversations I had with a number of friends and guys within the community of, it's going to be a different end of practice. I'm not going to worry about whether or not a nanny's picking up their kid. I'm going to worry about making sure that their kid gets home. And that's a big part of why I'm on here. So I can, you know, be better educated in that sense and making sure that, yeah, I'm going to have to learn how to speak to my kids about getting home safely, the police, all that stuff. So this is huge for me. This is huge.
So Jeff, I haven't done that specifically at Saints in terms of speaking about police. One of the things we do a lot is talking about our young people dealing with people in an authority position. So I think one of the things I am going to change is to be more specific about police interaction. But, you know, one of the things we've talked about is, you know, at times, especially with my own children, is the priesthood. You know, there's a whole lot going on there too. So what we've talked about is in our program about, you know, how do you interact with a teacher that you feel is wronging you? How do you interact with maybe your boss at work who you feel may be treating you poorly? So it hasn't been specifically police, but it's been for our students when they're not in a position, you know, of authority, dealing with people in authority. That's how we've dealt with it at Saints, or that's how I've dealt with it.
Great question, Jeff. And Isaiah, thank you for the response. Ryan, for your comments. And Ryan at Mount McGill.
I think Marshawn had an answer to that.
They
Can I
call
respond,
sheriff
please?
out there.
Mike,
Go on,
Mike,
Mike.
can I respond to Jeff?
Yeah, go on.
So, like Jeff said, I'm the last person to leave the gym at a home game or an away game to make sure our guys get home. If kids are carpooling together, make sure they text me and let me know they made it home. I don't leave anybody behind for the simple fact of fear of the police rolling up on, or if they're in where anything can go wrong, just to make sure that they make it home safe. Because I figure that when they leave that gym till they get in their door, they're our responsibility. So I have to make sure that they all make it home safely. If not, then that's on me. So they have to text me that they got home. They have to let me know that their parents come. And I sit there until that parent comes. If it takes an hour to make sure they come, that kid is going to get in that car. If I drive a kid home, I don't pull off until they walk in their door at home. That way we make sure that they're taken care of and there's no child left behind, basically. Everybody's going to get home safe on my watch.
And Marshawn, the kids that you have on your team, how many of them live in the community around Mission Bay?
Very few. We have the funny thing is it's more Hispanic kids that live in Mission Bay than the white kids. Some of the white kids live off in Claremont or Bay Park area. Our black kids are bussed in, and there's some community around the corner that has some of the Hispanic kids, but very few actually live in Mission Bay.
Exactly. Okay, Josh, you ready? Josh, Rich, Dan, and then Jamal.
Can I speak?
Yes.
Hello, my name is Joshua Dupree. I'm 16 years old. I'm a young black male. I attend Mar Vista High right now. I'm on the basketball team over there. And what I wanted to talk about was what George was talking about with leadership and stuff. So, growing up in a household without a father, I've always had to worry about, how I could be there for my family, because my mom's always trying to provide for the family. I've always, trying to make it easier for her, get good grades and all that, stay in my lane. And it's like I'm the type of person that'll try and like attack the problem directly. So what I wanted to talk about was, when I was at Mar Vista last year and we were playing at Coronado, one of my mixed teammates has a black mom. He has a black dad and a white mom. We were playing at Coronado. His mom and another teammate's mom let us know that kids were, attacking Isaiah. How he had his hair and stuff. And I was just thinking, when this stuff is like, it's taught early on, it's taught in the household. So I really just don't understand how, you can take this to somebody, like say like a racist household, and you try to convince them that, they'll be able to like see both sides of the story. Like, we're just minding our business. Like we don't want any trouble with these people. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know how you could make somebody understand that, like when they're like, because hatred is taught. Hatred against our color is taught. And I really don't understand how you can convince somebody, who was brought up that way, who was, who's grown up like that. I don't understand how all that works, because when I lived up in Washington, I saw a lot of that. I lived in Washington for about 2 years, and it was very apparent, at the middle schools and stuff that I went to there, that they didn't want me there. They didn't want me there. Apparently, I didn't get chosen for a lot of sports and stuff, and it almost seems that they wanted to keep everything, like with people they knew over there, and it was very apparent that they didn't want me there. Like the kids let me know all the time that I should just leave. People like targeting me because I'm tall and stuff like that. I just don't understand how you can get somebody to understand that you don't want any trouble with them when they've been raised like that. And that's all I wanted to say.
Hey, Josh, let me ask you this, and thank you for sharing. And Jeff, thank you for talking about this topic right now. Josh, who in your life before tonight have you been able to talk to about how you feel about what you just explained?
I've been able to talk to coaches, mentors, and stuff like that. Okay. Thankfully, I've had a lot of black men in my life as coaches, as mentors and stuff, just people from school in general, like staff over there, I always try and get around and talk to, about what I think about everything.
Thank you. You know, and I just like everybody to just take a second to think about who we've had the opportunity to talk to about these things. You know, who's been in our corner where something like this came up. How many times we see Jeff post on Facebook and he talks about his granny, and he's talking to his granny all the time, and his parents, and you know, that raised him and his family, and he always gives credit to those who helped give him that kind of support. But just think about your student athletes who might feel exactly like Josh just explained, and for whatever reason, they had nobody to talk to about this, or they think they don't. And so you making the invitation, you opening up the door could sometimes save a life. And that's where lives really do matter. Rich, it's on you right now, followed by Dan P. and then Jamal.
Hi, everybody. My name is Rich Curry. For those of you that don't know me, I'll just give a quick introduction of myself. I'm from San Diego, from East San Diego. I went to Kennedy Elementary. I went to Wilson Middle School, Hoover High School. Got a scholarship to Christian High School, so I went from Hoover to Christian. I was there for a couple of years. My grandfather was a baseball coach at Lincoln. I transferred back to Lincoln, and Kendall Webb denied my transfer, and I wasn't able to play my senior year. I'm actually a basketball player. I'm a basketball coach now. I'm actually a school teacher. I know many of you are coaches, but I haven't heard any teachers chime in, because in the classroom, on campus, I'm around the athletes all day. And I'm also a middle school teacher and athletic director, and I run our team sports on the middle school level. And you know, I started Athletic Initiative because of people like Michael Brunker. I started a community organization, and Jeff Harper Harris and Dan P., who's after me, and Marlon Wills are all on my board of directors. And I try to put the proper people in place to affect the community right. So I just, basketball, baseball was what I do. Both my kids play basketball and baseball. My daughter's a 4.0 student, National Honor Society, Scholar Society. At Mira Mesa, we missed Lonnie by 1 year. That's killing me. 1 year. But she plays softball and basketball, made varsity in both sports and freshman this year. And my son's the top 12U baseball player in San Diego. So I have a perspective on this, and that the N word first of all. And I'm currently working on my credential on my master's as a teacher, and I plan on being a vice principal first. So that's where I'm going, because that's the only way to affect it. Because there are no other black teachers. I'm the only African American male black teacher and athletic director. So all the students come to me on campus. All the black students, Filipino, Latino, they all come to talk to me if they have a problem with the staff or students, or they feel like somebody did something to them, or students call them a name, they come to Coach Curry. So I have like this crazy element where, like, during open house, the parents will come up to me and pull me aside. Coach Curry, you're looking out for my kid, right? So I have like all these questions that I have to answer to people about teachers when the incidents happen in the classroom. Then I have to go back to the teacher and the principal to try to like talk sometimes, just like try to be an advocate for the kids. And at my school, which is Innovations Academy, we use restorative justice and not punitive discipline. We're completely different from the other schools in San Diego City Schools, also, although we're a City Schools charter. So I believe that the N-word stuff starts in middle school. You start talking to them young. Like if some of you coaches could go to your local middle school, like if Lincoln went over to Kennedy, and they talk to the elementary and the middle school kids with some players about that. And like I have, like my school's like 30% black, 20% black, and we're in Scripps Ranch. So my sports teams are all black basically. So we scare people when we go to our games. We got the target on our back. I've had a target on my back since I was in 8th grade, period. Because I speak up front and I call stuff out and people hate me for it. And I've went to battle with huge organizations and won, and that has got me, you know, blackballed out of some stuff because I'm outspoken, and I'm a true grassroots community advocate with a real 501c3, legit, to quit paperwork and all, ran the correct way. I don't take advantage, I don't steal, I've never did one thing wrong. I've just called people out who do things wrong in my community to my kids that I'm trying to protect, because I was one of them, being a single parent home kid, no father. So I had to learn this from the ground up. I didn't know anything, dealing with the police and everything. So I talk to my kids on campus about when they leave our Scripps Ranch campus and go out there, they could get killed. We have to have serious conversations. And I had some of the best running backs in San Diego at my school this year, okay? I had Makai Thompson, I had Tyson Bryant, I had Julian down in San Ysidro, I had Dante Hall, I had ballers. My middle school team was like a high school team. It's crazy. We throw on lobs and dunking. But when we tried to play in the middle school sports league, we were straight hated on. We came from Spears Ranch, and like I'm also the AD and the coach of the sports teams, and I teach all the PE classes in my school, kindergarten to 8th grade. So I'm in the classroom having to deal with when kids have to deal with this bias in the classroom. How do you deal with that? Because then it extends to police. You know, all of them kind of sometimes use the same methodology, but how do we get away from it? Like I get to see it on campus. I get to hear it and see it. I get to hear the kids talk to me about the real stuff. They won't tell their teachers what they tell me. They don't tell the principals what they tell me. The parents will come tell me stuff. They won't mention it to the teacher. So I have to like deal with this very weird element of trying to help our kids learn how to deal with these elements. And I talk to them about the Bill of Rights and knowing their amendments correctly and what they mean and the definition and what they do when they step out into the world. Because Tyson's at Point Loma, Mackay went to West Hills, Jurian went to San Ysidro, who else? I had a bunch of really good players that went to schools all around the county, and they're stars in their respective spaces. So with restorative justice, we've taught them how to communicate and how to look at themselves differently, because we don't do punitive discipline. We don't suspend you. We don't do referrals. We don't kick you out. We don't demean you. Nothing. And the crazy thing is, my daughter, who's at Mira Mesa, a double varsity athlete in 9th grade, she got treated extremely poorly her first year this year at Mira Mesa, because the teachers automatically assume that the students are lying about everything and anything. They treat them like crap. And my daughter's a straight A student, period. Varsity player in 2 sports, starting on both. Well, not on varsity. She started on basketball varsity, then she eventually went to JV, but she made both. And she starts first base on varsity softball. And she's in the top 10 USA girls baseball players. So she's about to play baseball. She's deciding not to play softball at Mira Mesa and play baseball because of how poorly the coach treats the girls. And they have a largely ethnic team. So like there's some stuff going on the real level. And I believe that a lot of this can be dealt with by talking to kids on the middle school level, because our middle school sports are horrendous. I just got a brand new campus and a brand new gym. I'm doing middle school open gym, and I'll have people there to talk to. I'm going to have police come to my gym and talk to the kids about the rules of the streets and what you do and all that stuff. I'm going to try to do a middle school 3-on-3s. I'm going to try to bridge the community. And we're now down on Ruffin Road at 5454 Ruffin Road. So now I'm by the city. I'm not in Scripps Ranch. Brand new multi-million-dollar campus. Okay. We do restorative justice. Restorative justice is made for African-American kids and inner city kids. Just so you know.
Rich, thank you.
Okay.
Thanks for them comments, and I thank you for the solutions too. And you brought up a bunch of them right now.
Please come to middle school and talk to the middle school kids in 6th grade. Yeah. Please, because the sex, the weed, the gangs all starts there. And if you talk to them now, when they get to high school, they'll be advocates for the other schools who haven't had that talk, who haven't had that familiarity, who haven't created that bridge with the coaches and the players in the community, so they know who they are, and they also know their community police officers. Make them come and talk to the teams. They will.
Amen. Amen. And maybe earlier too, elementary school.
Man, I teach 8th grade, Mike.
Yes,
you can do it for kindergarten and 3rd grade and 4th grade. I'm with them every day, and you can do it. And as a teacher, it's frustrating that there's not more Black teachers, and I'm only one person. So I'm trying to do all I can. We all have to work together with the coaches. And one last thing, middle school sports, I'm also a club basketball coach on the youth sports level. I get treated very poorly. I call referees prison guards. I call them prison guards. They treat us very differently. The Hands, I also coach with Jeff at Lincoln, also coach with the San Diego Kings. They treat us differently, period. And it's not right, and it's biased. And they dog us, and they dog me, and they tell us to shut up, and they put us in a box, and they let the other coaches run around and do what they want to do. And on baseball, it's worse. I don't even want to get into softball and baseball because I have to bite the bullet. And my kids are ballers, and I'm a great coach, period. They don't like to see that. I have my hair braided because if I wear an afro on baseball, I'm done. They'll do me. They'll do me so wrong. And you know, Mike, I dealt with the MLB and the Padres. I did it. I tried my best. My own community killed me because nobody plays baseball. I got cannibalized, given everything for free, and that was my mistake. But we have to learn how to help one another, how to build. I have a community organization. I don't get no community help. I've been doing it for 8 years with the right people on the board. We need help. We do it for real. We're not just talk. We want to do it for real. We just need help and to come together. That's all I got to say, y'all. I love you, but I got to keep it 1 million. I don't play. You guys know that, man. I try to tell the truth, and it rubs people the wrong way sometimes, but we got to do it, because if we don't, we're done. Because we have a leaderless, genderless, ageless movement, and it's led by a martyr. There's nobody to kill. So we all got to do it together.
And Rich talked about 2 of his kids. You have how many kids, Rich?
I have 5 kids. I've been married for 18 years.
And for Rich, it's family first. It's family first. So he's a parent, he's a coach, he's a club coach, he's a teacher. He's doing a great job. God bless you. Thank you. Dan is next, followed by Jamal. And then Jeff's going to wrap it up.
Hey, everybody. I'm going to follow up on Rich. I'm just going to pick up where he left off. Me and Rich are very close. We got to know each other through Old Town Academy years ago. I started the football and basketball programs there with Rich, and then I moved on to become a coach at Crawford. I ran the baseball program there for a couple of years, stopped our 46-game losing streak, and I'll get into reasons why we have that losing streak. And that's basically because in the neighborhood that Crawford's in, no kids play baseball anymore because they've been run out of town due to the incessant and just pervasive racism that runs through Little League. I coached in North Park and Mid-City Little League, both those programs, and there was extremely deep roots of racism within both that caused me to get basically pushed out of both of those leagues due to my arguments and my disagreements, and usually it was due to the fact that a white kid wanted to be on the all-star team who didn't belong on the all-star team. I put a black or a brown kid on the team instead, and then chaos ensued. And that happened in both of those leagues. And basically what happens is these kids, the black and brown kids, get pushed down year after year. I'm warned about them in advance. So Nolan Cervantes, he has a terrible attitude. Nolan Cervantes is literally the best kid I ever coached in my life when it came to attitude. And it was extremely difficult to deal with that. And that's why I ended up at Crawford, because it was sort of a fresh, clean slate. But basically I'm getting kids who've never played baseball before because they're the kids who didn't get pushed out and forced out of the game. I'm in Vegas now. I coach at a inner city school in Vegas. My program is probably the only program with black students in the entire division. And so we face a ton of racism. We hear the N-word every game. We've heard it from umpires. And, you know, it's a very big deal for us. And one thing I made sure of my kids is, even though they do use it a lot in conversation, black and brown kids, you know, use it together, even though we have like a couple of white kids at the school who sort of get adopted into that culture. And they're allowed to use it as well by their peers. But I don't let them use it in my dugout because the umpires then see us as in a different light than they already did, which is already a different light. We get a tiny strike zone for our hitter, you know, for our pitchers, huge strike zone for our hitters, you know, check swings or suddenly full swings, you know, plays that aren't even close to the base or suddenly close plays or not even close plays the other direction. I mean, it's unbelievable. And I had to learn over the years to hold my anger in because I'm a very, you know, expressive coach. And this is something that's really difficult, especially somebody who you know, I'm white. I do have an afro and, you know, waves or whatever, you know, so I sometimes can pass for non-white, especially when I'm around a lot of non-white kids. I'm not with the beard, but without the beard, I do pass sometimes as a light skin or half black, somebody like that, with my players. And so I've been called those words before as well. And it's unbelievable how deep it runs in baseball, especially. Basketball, football is a lot less significant, especially in basketball. I haven't had to deal with nearly as much, although we still deal with it sometimes when we play at schools like you know, there's these all-white schools in Las Vegas in the rich neighborhoods, and we play on the road at those schools. We have to really watch ourselves a lot. I've been kicked out of games from the bench when I wasn't even coaching a game. I was during a JV game I wasn't even coaching. I got kicked out of the game because I questioned one call, and it was a terrible call. And this is the idea that the kids face this uphill battle every single day. And then add on to that fact is I have to basically serve as the person who teaches them about. I'm a government teacher and a history teacher, so I teach these kids about their rights. You know, especially the Fourth Amendment. The Fourth Amendment is extremely important to teach the kids about. And so I make a big deal about them understanding that, but also understanding that no matter what happens, even if they know their rights, when they get pulled over, they're in a dangerous situation that their peers at, you know, at Coronado High School would not be in. And this is a situation that they have to learn from day one, and it's something that it's even no matter how respectful you are, it doesn't matter, because we've seen stories of people sleeping in their own beds and getting shot. So it's a very difficult situation to approach. But as coaches, we have a unique perspective, and we also bring something to the kids that a lot of other people don't. We have this this amazing ability to influence them, while at the same time they listen to us oftentimes more than their own parents. And so we have to take this responsibility to be the right voice, and to make sure that they understand their position in this world. But also, we have to fight to make sure this stuff stops, especially with baseball. We have to fight this to end this, because I'm working hard with Rich with Athletic Initiative, and I'm personally working with a lot of other people on the side, with some people through MLB, some former minor leaguers who are now finally able to release their story about how they lined up the Black players in center field and said, "We only need one of you," and that's why this game has died in the inner city. So I'll end my time there. I could go on for years. I'm writing a novel on this, literally. So this is an issue that we all need to deal with. I'm on board with you guys, even though I don't live in San Diego anymore. I'm still on the board of a nonprofit that works in San Diego, so it's still my hometown in a lot of ways. So whatever we're doing to help improve the situation in SD, we're going to do it in SD, and then we're going to move it to Vegas as well. So.
And Dan, thank you for sharing. And let me just say this too, what you ended up on. Everybody's got a book in them. Write your stories. Ask your players to write your stories. Jeff Harper Harris, all that stuff you put up on Facebook, man, you need to, copy and put that down somewhere and write your book, because you've got a book there. There's no doubt about it. But tell the stories of why you're where you are today, and how you've overcome this, and how you've turned setbacks into comebacks, and how you really spending your life doing great things right now. Great job, Dan. Keep it going in Vegas. And I know Vegas not easy place to deal with either. It's a tough one, there's no doubt. Jamal, you ready? Did he leave us? Jamal McKenzie, there you go.
Yep, there I am. Appreciate it. Yeah, I just have a couple things that I wanted to touch on. I was on the call last week, a couple weeks ago when we had it. And I think one of the things that you said, Michael, was when you asked one of the young men how many people have they had the opportunity to talk to about these things. And that's one of the first things that we have to do right now, is making sure that we're making ourselves available for students of color to be that support, because they don't have that representation in their building. We have to be there for them. And so that was one of the things that I feel like right now it's crucial. The hard part is, right, we have to be prepared to give them options. So we had the conversation earlier in the call about what to do when you're pulled over by the police. And there's different perspectives on that, on how to handle that. We have to be prepared that our answers, we might not have the answer for them. And I think that's one of the things right now, until we can make the changes, we have to give them options, because you don't want to be that guy to say no when the police pull you over. You just keep quiet and don't say anything, and you got to be mindful of when they do that. I mean, I'm from Southeast, man. Like that conversation, sometimes it doesn't go the right way. And so as mentors and as adults, you got to be careful of the advice that we give until we can really see a true change made in some of these systems. And so that kind of leads me to my next thing, man, is we cannot, I know we had again, on the call, it was talked about looking for I don't know what the term was that was used, whether it was a silent platform or a quiet platform, because we're afraid of the blowback or how it affects us. Be honest, and again, I can only speak for myself, but we're past that. We're past that to where it doesn't have to be silent anymore. It can't be silent. And if it's something that means that much to us, I'm willing to give my job for speaking up if I'm speaking truth, and that's one of those things that I think is, and I know people are in different situations, but it's something you have to really think about when we're dealing with young youth in these cities. If you're willing to talk about it and to put in the work, you got to do it all the way. It can't be half-assed. It can't be. And so on that, and I spoke about this the last time, is there has to be areas and ways that you can make a change. So I live currently in Vancouver, Washington, which is right on the border of Portland, Oregon, and Washington. And in our school district, our entire school district, and we are the 4th largest school district in the state of Washington, we have 5 Black administrators, period, only 5. So my wife is one of those 5. They came together and approached the superintendent recently, about a month ago, with just kind of some things that are going on, lack of representation in the building, just a laundry list, right, of things that are going on. And they were able to get established an equity team where one of those 5 administrators is now in charge of that equity team. And it's not an equity team in your own building. It's an equity team of the entire district, and being able to affect the hiring and the staffing in our district. And so that's just one example of ways that I think right now, I hear all this the talk about referees and in the counties. It hasn't changed. It was like that back in the 90s. Like it hasn't changed. And until we get to positions where we are infiltrating the hiring, that process, and being able to staff people on there who are not going to be looking at coaches because they have braids or because they have an afro, because we have to make sure that we get enough people in these positions. And right now, this is the time that we have to get on these boards and create. If the boards aren't there, they have to be created. And there's a time period in the world where people have to listen in those facilities, in those organizations. I think the police is the other one, right? That's the next big chunk. And we all know we can't be stuck at the middle or bottom level. It has to be at the top levels to make any of the change in these organizations. And so that's where I just say that we have to make sure that we're continuing to move, because all these conversations, aside from some of the high school kids on here, we've all had plenty of experiences with everything everyone is talking about here. And we could have had these conversations 20 years ago, but we can't have these in 5 years, in 10 years. We can't keep having these same conversations, So that's all I got. I appreciate the time, fellas.
Jamal, thank you. Thank you for those comments. And before we turn it over to Jeff to wrap it up, I just want to take this opportunity to thank everybody who's been on this call. I think we peaked over 30 tonight, which is good. But here's what I'm going to do personally. And Jeff, I'm hoping that we continue this conversation. And whenever the next one is, if it's this time next week, but I'm going to personally invite Marlon Wells. I'm personally going to invite Zach Jones, Fentress Wynn, Robbie Sandoval, Donald Yasakochi. I'm going to call John Labita and see if we can get the word out to all the CIF coaches. Mike Hopp, you could probably help with that as well. They need to know about this as well. And I also manage, I'm part of some groups nationally. There's the Detroit Public School League coaches. They have about 800 on that one. I'm going to post this next call with them. I'm also, I run the Facebook page for St. Cecilia's in Detroit, which is one of the premier prototypes of all the summer leagues, midnight basketball leagues ever around the country. I'm going to post it on there as well, along with Brooklyn, USA, because I think everybody needs to hear this conversation, coaches, parents, players, and as the governor of the Pacific Southwest AAU, I'm going to blast it to all the AAU coaches and the families as well, and let them know about this so that we can keep this. It's got to go beyond conversation. Do we all agree? But we got to keep pushing. We've identified some things that need to be done immediately. And Jeff, I just want to thank you for continuing this movement, this initiative to make things happen. So we'll turn it over to you for the final word.
First of all, thanks, Mike. I appreciate you taking your time. I appreciate everybody taking their time, you know what I'm saying, and spending, 2 hours, 2 hours probably, you know what I'm saying, is not going to get it done like Jamal said, you know what I'm saying? And like Lonnie said, man, I'm in this for the long run. I'm in this, most of y'all know me. Most of y'all know, most people probably already thought I was rebellion. You know what I'm saying? I always was standing up for mine, saying Southeast kids. And sometimes people took the perception of what I was standing up for and made their own, try to figure me out. And now it's in the front. You know what I'm saying? I've been saying this, you know what I'm saying, like Jamal said, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. But, you know what I'm saying? Like, I appreciate Mike Hop, you know what I'm saying? Mike, you know, coming, you know, giving me his ideals, and, you know what I'm saying? It shows me that, you know what I'm saying, especially with how, you know, the separation of public versus private, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, man, I definitely respect you, Mike. I appreciate you, Mike. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate, you know what I'm saying, Ryan, because, you know what I'm saying, all the coaches, John is on, you know what I'm saying? It's a tough fight, but it's a fight that, you know what I'm saying, we have to, we no longer, like Jamal said, can talk about it. I can't talk about it. And like Ryan said, man, I really don't care no more. I probably didn't care 5 years ago when, you know what I'm saying, when I got into arguments with referees, people always thought it was over basketball. And it's not, you know what I'm saying? I've seen different things. But to the young people on here, Isaiah, like I said, man, and Delina, and Israel, I respect y'all. You know what I'm saying? Isaiah, I wish all y'all success as athletes, but you will change the world. I swear to God, you will. You know what I'm saying? And Isaiah, to speak on both sides, man, you know what I'm saying? I got to commend you for that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you, man. I didn't think Saints dude stood up like that. You know what I'm saying? I just, you know what I'm saying? I've sent kids to Hop. I had Robert Hayes over there. You know what I'm saying? You know, in the last probably 5-6 years, I didn't think kids at Saints or Cathedral, you know what I'm saying, could care about less what's going on south of 8 or southeast. But for you to stand up there and say what you said today, I respect you. I respect Mike. I respect your program. You know what I'm saying? And I hope we can continue this, like Mike said, you know what I'm saying? And whoever gets on next week, you know what I'm saying? It's like Jamal said, man, we got to go. You know what I'm saying? I can't stop no more. I'm hoping to put things in place where when our season ever starts, you know what I'm saying, we know when our kids play, it's going to be strictly basketball. And I don't want to lose sight of that. You know what I'm saying? I want the game to stay pure. I want us to, you know what I'm saying, be able to talk among ourselves. And I'm glad the white coaches are talking. You know what I'm saying? And y'all know me. I'm saying what I'm saying. I'm calling trainers out. I'm calling coaches out. You know what I'm saying? You can put black athletes on your Instagram pages of working, training them out. You can get out here and fight the cause, because some people, you know what I'm saying, is like, it's over. Like, back to normal. Back to what we was doing. And like Jamal said, man, we no longer can go back. So I definitely appreciate y'all. Ryan, congratulations on Mount McGill, man. You know where I'm at. You just down the street. You got your Southeast pass back. You got the Southeast pass back, man. You can come on back home.
I
now,
swear I've had it the whole time, man. Quit trying to take it away from me.
But other than that, man, I appreciate y'all, man. You know what I'm saying? And I just want to say this real quick to Ray Mills. I know Ray, we talk about discrimination, you know what I'm saying, and racism. I think Ray's in a tough situation where he's at. Him and Marty, when he was at El Cajon. I mean, that's a whole different type of racism, because the blacks don't like, you know what I'm saying, the Chaldeans, and you know what I'm saying? So, you know, you got to give him and Marty credit for, you know what I'm saying, being able to sit down and talk to their players and to work that out. But I just had to get that out. So, like I said, man, I appreciate y'all. You students, I love y'all, man. 100, man. Y'all are really, in my book, man. Y'all down to earth. I respect y'all. If y'all ever need something, let me know, man. You know what I'm saying? Delina, you spoke well. Isaiah, you know what I'm saying? You know, tell your parents, thank you for letting you take the time to do this tonight. And I'm saying Marquise, who's out in Nevada, who stepped on here. Ismail, Isel, all y'all, you know what I'm saying? I appreciate y'all. I definitely do. Let's keep this going, man, and have a good night.
Hey, again, thank you, Jeff. Appreciate everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, big brother Jake.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Jeff.
Everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Mike.
Everybody be safe. Everybody be safe. Head on a swivel.
Congrats.
Everybody be safe. Head on the swivel.
Ain't no 4th of July independence. We did that in June, man. Juneteenth, man. We're black on the 4th, man. Black it out, man.
Yeah, we
No
black out the 4th.
No barbecues, man. We know. I don't want to see nobody talking about fireworks. We got our own fireworks going on. Y'all be blessed, man.
Hey,
hey, Jeff, call me later.
All right.
Hey, Rich, call me later, man.